Hello and welcome back to my channel, Deku Fanfic. Join us as we delve into the realms of fanfiction and fantasy, bringing you the best stories and discussions. Today, we're kicking off the second part of our series, What If Deku Was Songwriter? If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. The author of this story is BlueLiv22 from fanfiction.net. All the relevant links are in the description. Feel free to say hello to the author on their profile. Now, let's dive into the fanfic. Here you go, Midoriya, your own personal behind-the-ear microphone, Gyro said with an easygoing smile as she held out the sleek black device. Hatsune from the support department made the two of us these after you told her you would be singing in the festival. They are seriously the coolest things I've ever seen. I tested mine a little while ago and the sound transmits amazingly. They're wireless, have a battery life of like 12 hours, and connect to any stereo system with Bluetooth. I've never owned something this high quality. The brunette could tell she was trying to hold back how excited she truly was about them. Her eyes were shining as she waited for him to take his. Amazing. This was really kind of her, Izuku commented as he took the ear mic from Gyro and put it over his ear. Putting it in the back of his mind to thank Hatsune as soon as he saw her next, he adjusted the small arm that held a minuscule yet powerful speaker an inch from his mouth. She really worked too hard for her own good. I take it the microphones you set up on stands over there are for Kaminari and Yaoyorozu then? Yep. Anyway, let me show you how to turn these bad boys on. There's a few different modes they have. After spending a minute being shown how to turn his ear mic on and off among a few other things, Gyro connected their ear mics to the speakers set up on the stage. In the center of the gymnasium, Mina was having the rest of the dance practice a few moves that still needed work while the staging team sat with Eri near the open area at the front of the stage. Izuku could see Eri sitting next to Todoroki, leaning against his left side, listening to Kirishima go on about something or another. When he noticed the small smile on her face, his heart nearly melted. He loved that little girl's smile more than anything. When he felt a tap on his shoulder, he turned around to see Gyro looking at him with understanding eyes. I haven't tested the sound in here with these microphones yet. Want to sing a quick duet? That way you can get a feel for the sound too. Izuku nodded. Sure. Are we going to use one of the ones for the festival, or? She shook her head. Let's mix it up a bit. Pick something we both know and can sing without instruments, preferably something softer so we can try bending our voices to see how the sound carries. So a love song maybe. Those usually fit your description. That's fine with me. Have one in mind. He thought for a moment. Do you know the acoustic version of You're the Reason? The original was on this American television show, but I vaguely remember it. Victorious, right. A cousin of mine loved that show. I don't remember how that particular song begins though, so can you start us off? He nodded, suddenly shy as they turned their ear mics on. After a moment he cleared his throat. The noise echoed out of the speakers, capturing everyone's attention for just a moment before they went back to what they were doing. They would have to get used to random sounds, music, and such being played for a short while. They were practicing after all. I don't want to make a scene, Izuku started quietly. I don't want to let you down. Try to do my own thing and I'm starting to figure it out that it's alright. Keep it together. He grew a bit more confident as Gyro began mouthing the words before jumping in, wherever we go. And it's alright, oh, well, whatever, everybody needs to know. Now they were both singing, each of their hands straying to the device in their ear and adjusting the mic as they went into the first chorus. You might be crazy, have I told you lately that I love you? You're the only reason that I'm not afraid to fly. Gyro's eyes slipped closed first, Izuku's following shortly after. It helped them focus on their singing, the lack of visual information leaving their minds to bring their hearing to the forefront of their senses. And it's crazy that someone could change me. Now no matter what it is I have to do, I'm not afraid to try, and you need to know that you're the reason why. The other students, and Eri, listened in awe as they harmonized perfectly. Their voices complemented each other's flawlessly as said voices played from the speakers and filled the room. I don't even care when they say you're a little bit off. Look him in the eye, I'd say I could never get enough. Cause it's alright, keep it together wherever we go. And it's alright, oh, well, whatever everybody needs to know. Izuku opened his eyes a fraction to see that everyone had stopped what they were doing to listen to the duo sing. With timid movements he moved a little so he could glance at Bakugo, who was sitting at the drum set with his eyes closed as he listened. You might be crazy, have I told you lately that I love you? You're the only reason that I'm not afraid to fly. And it's crazy that someone could change me. Now no matter what it is I have to do, I'm not afraid to try, and you need to know that you're the reason why. Gyro, on the other hand, found herself too wrapped up in the music to be curious about how the others were reacting. This meant she didn't take notice of where Kaminari stood a few yards away from her, his guitar strung around his neck as he gazed at her fondly. If only he knew this song made her think of him. Just a little bit. If it was raining, you would yell at the sun. Pick up the pieces when the damage is done. You say it's just another day in the shade, but look at what a mess we made. They sang the last few lines of the song only for the room to burst into applause once they finished. There were few whistles among the clapping as well, and the attention which would have had them blushing at an earlier point in time slowly coaxed out elated laughter from the singers. That's quite enough. Gyro spoke into her mic, amused. A grin on her face was apparent to everyone around her. We're actually going to start practicing now. What we just did was a warm-up, now is when the real struggle begins. And so the band and dance teams got to work. Mina began running through the routines in order of what needed the most work to the least amount of work. While she helped people one-on-one throughout each repeated sequence, the band team did a run-through of every song in the order they would be playing them in for the festival. This meant the first few songs focused on Gyro and Yaoyorozu singing, while Izuku and Kaminari took over near the middle and end. After singing every song once, which was a feat in of itself, they began tackling the biggest problems that were noticed. Gyro stood in front of her classmates, a notepad in her hand where she'd written down comments in between songs. Takoyami, I think some of your strings are a little tight. A few of the notes sounded higher than they should be. Retuning them before each major show on festival day would be wise. Kaminari and I will be doing the same. Duly noted. I will make sure to tune my guitar before the next practice as well, he assured. Yaoyorozu, you can sing your parts a little louder in tracks 1 and 2. I know you're doing the backup, accenting parts, but the beauty of them can only stand out when the audience hears your voice with mine. It's difficult to focus on singing and playing an instrument, but I know you can do it. The tall girl smiled back at Gyro, eyes bright. Of course, I'll work on being a bit louder next time, do not worry. Kaminari, you're adding in a few extra notes in Midoriya's songs. The blonde groaned lightly. Yeah, I noticed. I got a bit distracted while singing with Midoriya and sort of changed my part on accident. I'll make note of the parts I did that and next time we play them so I don't do it again. Great. She then turned to the other blonde in the group. Bakugo, you're hitting the cymbals a lot harder than usual during the final track. May I ask why? Deku's voice during the last verse before the final chorus of that song was pissing me off. What? Izuku asked, mortified. I told you, Kakin, my voice doesn't really go well with that part, so. Whatever, nerd. Earphones, I'll make sure to lessen up on the cymbals after you've helped Deku get that part down better. The girl in question sighed. We'll work on it, Bakugo. Anyway, Midoriya, I was going to say you did really well on your 2 songs. Other than working on perfecting the part Bakugo is talking about, I'd say all you need to worry about is adding in some moves while singing like Mina showed you. Right. The group worked on a few of the song's parts for roughly half an hour longer. After about 2 hours of total practice, everyone agreed to take the popsicle break Kirishima had planned for hours prior. Line up everybody. Get your delicious frozen treat over here, the redhead called as he strung out the huge pack of ice pops like a giant rainbow accordion in front of him. Kiri gazed up at it in wonder. You guys deserve it after all of your hard work. He was met with an overwhelming response. Thanks, Kirishima. Despite it raining outside, it was still rather warm out. And just like he'd stated, singing and dancing was hard work. With the generous help of Todoroki, those on the staging team handed out said popsicles to everyone before setting up for the dance party they were going to have. Dance party, Kiri said, puzzled from where she sat once again on Izuku's lap. In her hand she held the wrapper from a green apple ice pop, fingers slightly pink from how cold it had been. I thought you guys were practicing for the festival. We've been practicing almost non-stop, Uraraka explained. So we thought we should take a break tonight and have fun. It'll be even more fun with you here. The child seemed less than enthused. But I don't know how to dance, she said quietly. Suyu came to the rescue first. You don't have to know how to dance to have fun at a dance party, Ribbit. It's more about moving around to the music and having fun than actually dancing. A lot of us will probably just jump around, honestly. We've been practicing serious dancing for over a week, so it'll be nice to just move however we feel like. Eri-chan, you can always dance with me if you want, Mina assured from where she finished her 3rd popsicle. We can spin around in circles until we almost puke. Or not. Uraraka broke in with judgmental look, the mention of puking rubbing her the wrong way. Finally Izuku decided to speak up. You can do whatever you want to, Eri-chan, Izuku said with a soft smile. No one here will make you dance, but I know a lot of us here would love to dance with you if you want to. Do you want to share a dance with any of us? There was a small stretch of time where no one around them spoke. In the background, Gyro was setting her computer up to the speakers and getting the party playlist pulled up. Once roughly a minute had passed, Eri finally looked up, a determined look in her eyes. Can I dance with you first, Deku-san? His smile lit up the room around him. Of course. I know a good song too, since Mirio told me you two watched Zootopia yesterday. Teri's eyes widened. Which song? He merely grinned as an answer. You'll see soon, don't worry. With that he whispered the title to Uraraka, who got up to make the request to Gyro. When she returned to the group she let them know it would be the first song up once everybody was ready to begin. A couple minutes and a few popsicle wrappers later, they were. Oh, repeated 4 times as it out of the speakers, the volume turned up high enough to carry across the auditorium and overpower the voices of those wanting to sing along. Gyro did leave the 2 microphones set up on stage for anyone wanting to join in with the music though. She of course put her new prized possession away, although Izuku left his in his ear and turned off. He planned on singing along with some of the music later if only for Eri's benefit. I messed up tonight, I lost another fight. I still mess up, but I'll just start again. Izuku sang while he and Eri linked hands. I keep falling down, I keep on hitting the ground. I always get up now to see what's next. They began slowly moving so that they were spinning around in a circle, arms outstretched to make it as big as possible. Birds don't just fly, they fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. Around them several students were jumping around and jamming out to Shakira. Among them a few of the girls delightedly had a few of the guys spinning around like toddlers. Aoyama twirled around the room leaving sparkles in his wake. I won't give up. No, I won't give until I reach the end and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I want to try everything. I want to try even though I could fail. I won't give up. No, I won't give until I reach the end and then I'll start again. Eri laughed as Izuku spun her around in a pirouette, her hair landing messily over her face for a moment when she came to a stop. No, I won't leave. I want to try everything. I want to try even though I could fail. Tsuyu, Gyro, and Yaoyorozu gradually joined in as the song progressed, a few of the guys like Shiro, Kota, Kaminari, and Takoyami hopping in once they threw caution to the wind. Oh, 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 oh. Try everything. Oh, 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 oh. Try everything. Oh, 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 oh. Try everything. Oh, 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 oh. Surprising those around him, Izuku scooped Eri up into his arms after another impressive pirouette. With his strength he easily settled her onto his shoulders, walking around his classmates as they moved in their own ways. Look how far you've come, you filled your heart with love. Baby, you've done enough, take a deep breath. Don't beat yourself up, don't need to run so fast. Sometimes we come last, but we did our best. As they moved across the room, Izuku noticed Sato and Shoji were dancing in place, and all two trying hard to move in between the two as if he was not being allowed to move closer to where nearly everyone else was dancing. He didn't think much of it though. He trusted his classmates to not be unnecessarily cruel to the short boy, unless Minta was having another one of his perverted episodes again. I won't give up. No, I won't give until I reach the end and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I want to try everything. I want to try even though I could fail. I won't give up. No, I won't give until I reach the end and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I want to try everything. I want to try even though I could fail. They had been weaving amongst the others, his classmates taking turns grabbing Eri's hands as Izuku walked by and doing a quick spin with her on his shoulders. It warmed his heart to hear her laughter as they moved from one person to the next. Everyone looked so happy. I'll keep on making those new mistakes. I'll keep on making them every day. Those new mistakes. As the song came to a close, Izuku squatted down to allow Eri to gently slide down his back. They joined Uraraka, Ida, and several others where they let themselves basically move however they felt like it. None of them were trying to look good or dance well. They were having fun even at the cost of looking silly, but there was no one around to judge them. Oh, 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 oh. Try everything. 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 The room erupted into excited, elated chatter for a few seconds before the next song on the playlist began. Izuku heard Gyro warn the others that she kept the music PG on account of Eri. He also heard her mention having time to play a T-rated dance playlist Mina put together after Mirio came to pick Eri up. All of the best dance songs are generally inappropriate, okay. The pink-skinned girl said defensively. We could play Toxic again though. Then Midori and I can do our dance from yesterday. Izuku protested immediately, face scarlet. No way. Oh, I'm just messing with you, she grinned cheekily. He was not amused. Before he could say anything else though, the next song started up and around him people were reading to move once more. I'm at a payphone trying to call home, all of my change I spent on you. Where have the times gone? Baby, it's all wrong. Where are the plans we made for two? Just as Izuku turned to dance with Eri again, Uraraka and Tsuyu rushed to his side. Yeah, I know it's hard to remember the people we used to be. It's even harder to picture that you're not here next to me. You say it's too late to make it, but is it too late to try? And in our time that you wasted all of our bridges burned down. Mind if we have the next dance, Eri-chan? The brown-haired girl asked with a polite smile. You can keep dancing with Deku-kun if you want though. Sue and I don't mind waiting. I've wasted my nights, you turned out the lights, now I'm paralyzed. Still stuck in that time when we called it love but even the sun sets in paradise. With a small nod the little girl reached out her hands, one for each of the female heroes in training before her. The older duo asked her something Izuku couldn't hear over the sound of the music. A moment later, however, Eri was giggling as she was made weightless. I'm at a payphone trying to call home, all of my change I spent on you. Where have the times gone? Baby, it's all wrong. Where are the plans we made for two? If happy ever after did exist, Uraraka was now lightly spinning the younger girl in the air just a bit above herself, Tsuyu hopping along underneath where she floated. I would still be holding you like this. All those fairy tales are full of it. One more stupid love song, I'll be sick. Before Izuku's heart could melt any more at the adorable sight, he felt rather than saw someone grab his wrist. It was only after a few seconds that he realized Hagakure was standing in front of him. She was wearing a simple t-shirt and shorts, but from the angle of her shirt sleeves he could tell she was flailing excitedly. Dance with me, Midori. Sure thing, Hagakure-kun. What about Ajiro-kun though? Oh, you turned your back on tomorrow cause you forgot yesterday. I gave you my love to borrow, but you just gave it away. You can't expect me to be fine, I don't expect you to care. I know I've said it before, but all of our bridges burned down. Kiri was getting really into dancing and accidentally stepped on his tail, so he's sitting out for a few minutes until it stops hurting. He told me he was fine and to keep dancing though. Todoroki-kun is keeping him company right now and icing his tail, so let's dance. I've wasted my nights, you turned out the lights, now I'm paralyzed. Still stuck in that time when we called it love, but even the sun sets in paradise. Izuku wouldn't have called what they ended up doing dancing per se. All they really did was jump up and down a bit while circling each other, occasionally locking arms for the heck of it. Still, the sound of their laughter rose above the sound of music around them. He didn't even notice Bakugo watching him silently from the side of the stage where he was the only one not dancing. I'm at a payphone trying to call home, all of my change I spent on you. Where have the times gone? Baby, it's all wrong. Where are the plans we made for two? If happy ever after did exist, I would still be holding you like this. All those fairy tales are full of it. One more stupid love song, I'll be sick. Now I'm at a payphone. The rest of the song played without much change in energy. Hagakure went back to Ojiro after thanking the Greenette for dancing with her, and soon after Izuku found himself dancing with Kaminari and minded to 1,000 miles. Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass and I'm homebound. Staring blankly ahead, just making a way through the crowd. Nearly everyone dancing, then struck an obnoxious pose, striking another after every piano part in between the next few sentences. And I need you. Kaminari pointed at Mineta, his other hand on his heart as if love struck. And I miss you. Mineta threw out his arms towards Izuku, who put both palms up in air as if lost as to what to do. And now I wonder, if I could fall into the sky, do you think time would pass me by? 'Cause you know I'd walk 1,000 miles if I could just see you tonight. After that, Kirishima and Mina pulled him into the most dramatic version of I Need a Hero he'd ever been part of. Where have all the good men gone, and where are all the gods? Mina sang into one of the microphones. She pretended to faint into Kirishima's arms as she continued singing. Where's the streetwise Hercules to fight the rising odds? Isn't there a white knight upon a fiery steed? She suddenly pushed herself up out of Kirishima's arms in order to grab the other microphone. Tossing it to the spiky-haired boy as she finished the verse, she pointed at Izuku and did a twirling motion with her free hand. Late at night I toss and I turn and I dream of what I need. Hit it, Midori. Izuku blinked. What was he hitting, exactly? I need a hero. Mina and Kirishima belted, the former rushing forward and grabbing the Greenette's hands. I'm holding out for a hero till the end of the night. He's gotta be strong, and he's gotta be fast, and he's gotta be fresh from the fight. Izuku fell into a fast sort of tango with the girl. They didn't keep it up for long though, Izuku gradually changing the style to something more akin to swing. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the morning light. He's gotta be sure, and it's gotta be soon, and he's gotta be larger than life. Larger than life. Then there was the Linkin Park song that came on. It was one song he would never be able to listen to the same again. As soon as the familiar tune had started playing from the speakers, Todoroki was grabbing Izuku's hand and pulling him with him to the microphone. Sing back up with me, the fire and ice user asked politely, yet firmly. A serious look on his scarred face caught the shorter boy off guard. Oh, of course, Todoroki-kun. He flipped his ear mic back on just as Todoroki brought one of the wireless microphones to his own face. Neither of them had a second to spare before the words came up. I'm tired of being what you want me to be, Todoroki began without much emotion. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. I don't know what you're expecting of me, put under the pressure of walking in your shoes. Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow. Izuku sang supportively. You would need to ask his friend how things with his dad were going some point soon. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow. And then they were both singing together, their voices slightly mismatched but still heard over the music somewhat pleasantly to the ear anyway. I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. By becoming this, all I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. As they went to continue, however, neither of them anticipated Bakugo storming up to them angrily. You two call that alternative metal. That's not even alternative rock. Can't you see that you're smothering me? Holding too tightly, afraid to lose control. 'Cause everything that you thought I would be has fallen apart right in front of you. The explosive blonde grabbed the only other free microphone and jabbed a finger at them each in turn. I'll show you how to not ruin Linkin Park, half and half bastard, Deku. Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow. And then Bakugo joined in singing, his voice coming out low and gruff as he sang just like when he yelled. And every second I waste is more than I can take. I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. The trio sang as one, their combined voices startling the class. Kirishima couldn't help but record the once-in-a-lifetime show from the back. By becoming this, all I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. And I know I may end up failing too. But I know you were just like me with someone disappointed in you. Bakugo had no chill as he more or less roared the lyrics out. Izuku couldn't help but wince at the style, since he remembered the soft way the other had sung just last night. I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. By becoming this, all I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. Honestly, singing with Todoroki and Bakugo was extremely fun for Izuku. He felt like he hadn't bonded with the two of them like this outside training in a long time. They also sang decently well together, genre permitted. Suddenly Bakugo was waving at the other two singers, gesturing for them to stop singing before pointing at himself. I've become so numb, Bakugo sang before pointing at Todoroki. Heterochromatic eyes shined in understanding. I can't feel you there. He continued before the blonde was pointing at Izuku. I'm tired of being what you want me to be, the brunette finished. The trio repeated this one more time before the song finished. Once the song did end, Bakugo mumbled something about them being mediocre before stomping off somewhere else. Izuku could only stare after him. Was it him, or had Bakugo looked a little jealous when he first joined them? From there on out, Class 1 basically went with the flow with things and had fun. Some sang with the music, some grabbed microphones and put on more shows for the other students in Eri, and some merely danced. The only one who didn't seem too keen on joining everyone else was Bakugo, but that was quickly remedied by Mina pulling him in with the rest of the Baka squad and Zero challenging him to a one-on-one dance-off. Zero's plan of provoking Bakugo blew up in his face, literally, when the blonde's freestyle meant setting off small explosions to propel him in the air. Mistakes had definitely been made. As for Izuku, a few of his friends drug him into more dances. At one point, Aoyama had stolen him away from Tsuyu and Uraraka to join him in dancing to I Got a Feeling. Despite them becoming good friends over the past few weeks though, Izuku still had to endure the sparkling hero in training spinning him like a top. Aoyama-kun, please stop. Izuku begged when he began feeling nauseous. The other boy immediately halted the dramatic spinning, noticing he'd gotten carried away. Izuku also shared more dances with Eri when she wasn't with Tsuyu, Uraraka, Kirishima, Mina, and Todoroki. She had taken to them amazingly fast. Her getting so close to Todoroki would have startled Izuku had he not remembered their bonding moment a few nights before, along with the fact Todoroki was secretly good with kids. He had even joined Izuku and Uraraka to serenade the girl in a beautiful rendition of Battle Scars by Paradise Fears. This is an anthem for the homesick, for the beaten. Izuku began by himself, the lost, the broke, the defeated. A song for the heartsick, for the standbys living life in the shadow of a goodbye. And then Uraraka had made it to a microphone, hesitantly joining Izuku for the next few lines. Her confidence would grow after they'd made it to the chorus. Do you remember when we learned how to fly? We'd play make-believe, we were young and had time on our side. You're stuck on the ground. Got lost, can't be found. Just remember that you're still alive. Todoroki grabbed the last microphone with plenty of time before the chorus to spare. When he readied himself to join and he couldn't stop a small smile from gracing his face, Uraraka was giving him a thumbs up, looking happier than could be at the other boy's arrival. It was such a small gesture, and yet it meant a lot. I'll carry you home, their voices sang together. In the same moment, Izuku stopped making circles with Eri and lifted her up in the air. She laughed as he held her aloft in the air, spinning her around slowly as she spread her arms out like a bird. No, you're not alone. Keep marching on, this is worth fighting for. You know we've all got battle scars. You've had enough, but just don't give up. Stick to your guns, you are worth fighting for. You know we've all got battle scars. Keep marching on. Not wanting to make her dizzy, Izuku gently placed the girl back on the ground. Eri immediately tackled him with a harsh hug. A few of his classmates laughed as he had the breath knocked out of him, which came out as a small yelp in his microphone. He didn't sing for a verse, so he could just focus on hugging the girl in his arms. This is a call to the soldiers, the fighters, the young, the innocent, and righteous. We've got a little room to grow, better days are near. Hope is so much stronger than fear. Uraraka and Todoroki made up for Izuku's break well. So if you jump, kid, don't be scared to fall. We'll be kings and queens in this dream, all for one, one for all. You can light up the dark, there's a fire in your heart burning brighter than ever before. I'll carry you home. No, you're not alone. Keep marching on, this is worth fighting for. You know we've all got battle scars. Izuku jumped back in and the trio continued on once again. You've had enough, but just don't give up. Stick to your guns, you are worth fighting for. You know we've all got battle scars. Keep marching on. Once they finished that song, he and his classmates danced to several songs like Call Me Maybe, Hot and Cold, and more. Todoroki had even been coerced into using his quirk yet again during the Katy Perry song. The sound of Class 1A's laughter overpowered the music easily when he'd created fire and ice when the words hot and cold came up solely for Eri's entertainment. Izuku would need to thank Todoroki for that. He would also need to get a copy of the video Kirishima took for quirk analysis purposes. Eventually, though, it was time for Eri to go home. As much as it pained them so to see her go after having so much fun, Mirio wishing he could have stuck around longer after taking part in a couple songs for 10 minutes longer than he'd planned, they needed to meet Aizawa at the gate for a ride. We'll try to visit Tuesday or Wednesday after classes, Mirio promised with his usual shining grin. Thank you for having her tonight, by the way. It was nice to be able to catch up with my friends. It was our pleasure. Izuku responded while some of his classmates hugged the little girl goodbye. Kirishima and Mina were even shedding dramatic tears, saying they would miss their horn buddy. See you in a few days, Eri-chan. I hope you had a good time. Eri tilted her head in surprise. I had more than a good time. It was great, I had so much fun, Deku-san. You and everyone have been working so hard for the festival, but despite all of that stress you still did all this for me. I didn't even do anything to deserve such kindness either. Thank you all so much. Her eyes began to fill with tears, and Mirio and Izuku never wrapped someone in their arms so fast in their lives. Oh, Eri-chan, please don't cry, Mirio requested quietly. People don't need to do anything to be worthy of kindness. Izuku agreed with the third year's statement. You deserve to be happy like anyone else. This was just as fun for us as it was for you too, and you don't worry about us getting ready for the festival. Like I said earlier, we all needed a fun break after all of the practicing we've been doing. I can't wait to see all of you perform," she said, cheeks wet. "Your performance is going to be amazing." "We can't wait for you to see it either," Izuku beamed. After saying goodbye, Class 1 was brought back into action by pumped-up Mina. "We can't end the night on such a somber mood. Gyro-kun, switch the playlist over to mine, would you? It's time for us to really party." Ida cut in with his loud voice, arms doing that chopping motion he tended to do when he was in his class rep mode. "Ashido, it is getting late. It will be time for curfew in half an hour. I think we should be heading in for the night," he advised while adjusting his glasses. Mina wasn't having it. "No way, class rep. We have a solid 25 minutes before we need to head out. We can fit in at least 6 songs before then. But by the time all of the songs are over, it will still take a few minutes to." Whatever else he had been about to say to sway the girl's mind was lost when Gyro pressed a button on her laptop. The purple-haired girl merely sent a thumbs up to her friend as a familiar dance tune had several students singing along. Mina for one grabbed the wireless microphone from one of the stands and belted out the lyrics with the music. Shortly after, Hagakure grabbed the other one where she shared it with Kaminari and Gyro. Come on, turn the radio on. It's Friday night and it won't be long. Gotta do my hair, put my makeup on." Mina ran a hand through her hair dramatically, Kaminari copying the movement and sending Gyro into a flurry of giggles as he swung his hips flirtatious like her too. "It's Friday night and it won't be long till I hit the dance floor. I got all I need. No, I ain't got cash. All 4 of them pointed towards the other students, "but I got you, baby. Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. I love cheap thrills." Most of the class shouted along with the chorus, albeit making the song just sound louder rather than better. "Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. I love cheap thrills." The only one who wasn't singing was Ida, who crossed his arms dejectedly after being shot down by the rest of the class. His pride as class rep ached. "I don't need no money as long as I can feel the beat. I don't need no money as long as I keep dancing." Uraraka and Izuku noticed their friend moping, and after sharing a glance they each grabbed one of his hands. Before he could protest, Uraraka had made him weightless. Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and it won't be long. Gotta paint my nails, put my high heels on. It's Saturday and it won't be long till I hit the dance floor." And then Ada was being lifted into the air, "Hit the dance floor. I got all I need. No, I ain't got cash. Izuku and Uraraka slowly started skipping around in a circle, Ida's initial protests dying down into a grateful smile. "But I got you, baby. Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. I love cheap thrills. Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. I love cheap thrills." Soon Uraraka had made Izuku weightless too, and after the 2 boys were carried for a bit they returned the favor by lifting the laughing girl into the air to give her the same treatment. "I don't need no money as long as I can feel the beat. I don't need no money as long as I keep dancing." The trio danced with each other until the song ended, all smiles and laughter even as they were pulled away to dance with others. Songs like "I Kissed a Girl," "Hips Don't Lie," "Sexy Back," and "Love Drunk" played next. "I used to be love drunk, but now I'm hungover. I'll love you forever, forever is over. We used to kiss all night, now it's just a bar fight, so don't call me crying. Say hello to goodbye." When the last of the 4 songs played, a few students belted the lyrics while head-banging and jumping around the stage. Everyone seemed to be getting a bit too rowdy for Ada's taste. He turned to Izuku to see if he could get some of them to calm down, but his eyebrows shot up into his hairline when he was the shorter boy dancing flawlessly with Uraraka and Sui while singing into his mic. "'Cause just one thing would make me say I used to be love drunk, but now I'm hungover. I'll love you forever, but now it's over." When had he even turned it on? How hadn't he heard his friend's voice over the recorded music? "All the time I wasted on you, all the bullshit you put me through." Did Izuku just curse? Ida was sure he was about to have a heart attack. "I'm checking into rehab cause everything we had didn't mean a thing to you." Then, what would be the last song of the night? Mina and Kaminari grabbed the microphones in order to sing over "Give Me Everything" and improvise their own lyrics. "Me not working hard. Yeah, right, picture that with a Kodak. Or, better yet, go to UA, take a picture of me with a Kodak." They grinned as the other students roared in approval. "Took my life from negative to positive, I just want y'all know that. And tonight, let's enjoy life. Mina, Sparky, 1A, tell us right. Tonight, I want all of you tonight." They sang together. "Give me everything tonight. For all we know we might not get tomorrow, let's do it tonight. Don't care what they say," Kaminari soloed, "all the games they play. Nothing is enough till they handle love. I want you tonight. I want you to stay. I want you tonight." Then Mina took over, the boy's voice dropping out as he wrapped an arm around Gyro with a blush. He wanted to ask if she'd sing with them. Grab somebody sexy, tell him, "Hey, give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight." As Mina continued the next part by herself, Izuku felt a tap on his shoulder. He had been so focused on watching those singing with the music that he hadn't noticed Todoroki's approach. Midoriya, dual-colored eyes met his own green ones. "Yes, Todoroki-kun. Take advantage of tonight cause tomorrow I'm also doing bad. perform for a princess, but tonight I can make you my queen and make love to you endless. Dance with me." Izuku smiled, oblivious to the pair of red eyes staring at him from afar. With a nod, he took Todoroki's splayed hands before leaning back and spinning around together for a bit. "This is insane, the way the name growin', money keep flowin', hustlers move aside. So, I'm tiptoeing to keep flowin'. I got it locked up like the pro midnight." The brunette burst out laughing, which brought another sincere smile to Todoroki's face. "Put it on my life, baby. I make you feel right, baby. Can't promise tomorrow, but I promise tonight, Dale." "Excuse me." Gyro and Kaminari joined Mina suddenly, their faces close as they both sang into the same microphone. "And I might drink a little more than I should tonight, and I might take you home with me if I could tonight. And, baby, I may make you feel so good tonight, cause we might not get tomorrow." Todoroki pulled Izuku close to his chest after a spin almost went out of control. It was the last straw for the boy, silently steaming several yards away though. "Tonight, I want all of you tonight. Give me everything tonight. For all we know, we might not get tomorrow, let's do it tonight." Just as the two boys were about to break apart and try another type of dance, Bakugo wrapped a possessive arm around Izuku's waist. Izuku's eyes widened at the gesture. He glanced between Todoroki, the hand on his side, and finally at the glaring face now practically right in his own before letting out a shrill yelp. "Kaken, what are you doing?" "I'm also curious as to what's going on," Todoroki agreed with an eyebrow raised. They hadn't been dancing together for very long at all. "Don't care what they say or what games they play. Nothing is enough till they handle love. I want you tonight. I want you to stay. I want you tonight." Bakugo showed Todoroki his middle finger in lieu of answering. At the boy's eye roll and Izuku's "That's mean, Kaken," he finally spit out an explanation. "You call that dancing, Izuhot? I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. Deku, follow my lead." Izuku's had to bite back a squeak. "Follow your lead. But what about Todoroki-kun?" The only answer he received was being pulled dangerously close into Bakugo's personal space. Said owner of the space growled lowly as he fought to grab both of Izuku's hands. "Grab somebody sexy, tell him, hey, give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight." From his classmate's perspective, it seemed like Bakugo was trying to drag a struggling cat across the stage. Izuku looked completely terrified and unwilling to dance, and with the blonde snapping at him, it seemed like it wouldn't get better anytime soon. "Will you stop freaking out for 2 seconds and just follow my lead like I told you to? If you stopped grabbing me hard enough to leave bruises and actually told me what style you're going for, then maybe I'd actually be able to listen to you," Izuku argued back. His eyes flashed emerald with defiance. After a small staring contest, Bakugo begrudgingly loosened his grip. Only then did Izuku calm down enough to get his heart rate under control. Having Bakugo's hands on him right now was doing things to him. "Reach for the stars, and if you don't grab him, at least you'll fall on top of the world. Think about it, cause if you slip, I'm gonna fall on top yo girl." "Freestyle," Bakugo said over the music. Izuku tilted his head questioningly. "That could mean anything. Just trust me, would you?" "Damn nerd. What I'm involved with is deeper than the mazes. Baby, and it ain't no secret. My granny's from Hasu, but I'm from Musutafu, and I don't get money like best genist." The brunette rolled his eyes. Why was the explosive blonde so dramatic in everything he did? "All right, Kaken. Put it on my life, baby. I make you feel right, baby. Can't promise tomorrow, but I promise tonight, Dale." One hand landed on Izuku's side while the other grasped his own hand. Before he knew it, he was being pulled in various directions as Bakugo led him in a dance similar to the tango, ballroom, and waltz all at the same time. "Excuse me, and I might drink a little more than I should tonight, and I might take you home with me if I could tonight." He was pulled flush against the blonde's chest, his face lightly meeting the black fabric of the other boy's shirt before he was pushed away again. "And, baby, I may make you feel so good tonight, cause we might not get tomorrow." They added in some complex footwork, to which Izuku had to really focus to keep up with. When and where Bakugo had learned to move like this was beyond him. He wasn't nearly as good as Mina, sure, but it was still impressive. "Tonight, I want all of you tonight. Give me everything tonight. For all we know, we might not get tomorrow, let's do it tonight." Izuku was spun around yet again, but this time when he was grabbed, he found himself being dipped. His spine curved into an arch as a strong arm held him aloft in the air. Ruby eyes stared into his quickly reddening face for a moment just before he was pulled back up. "Don't care what they say or what games they play. Nothing is enough till they handle love. I want you tonight. I want you to stay. I want you tonight." Some side-to-side movements were introduced then, Izuku easily following the others' flow into a hand grab that sent them pushing and pulling away from one another, swapping opposite hands before repeating the moves again. "Grab somebody sexy, tell him, hey, give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight." Izuku grinned as the song was finishing up. Sure, he was sweaty, tired, and a nervous wreck because he was dancing almost hip to hip with Katsuki Bakugo of all people, but he was having fun dancing with his one and only crush. Moreover, Bakugo was sending a grin of his own right back at him. "Excuse me, and I might drink a little more than I should tonight, and I might take you home with me if I could tonight. And, baby, I may make you feel so good tonight, cause we might not get tomorrow." This is bad, Izuku thought to himself as the last dozen seconds of the song played. I think I'm falling even deeper in love with him. What did you just say, Deku? Fear akin to what he'd felt the day Shigaraki approached him in the mall fell over him. Had he just spoken out loud? In order of appearance, You're the Reason by Victoria Justice. Try Everything by Shakira. Payphone by Maroon 5 featuring Wiz Khalifa. 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton. I Need a Hero by Jennifer Saunders. Numb by Linkin Park. Battle Scars by Paradise Fears. Cheap Thrills by Ja. Love Drunk by Boys Like Girls. Give Me Everything by Pitbull featuring Neo, Afrojack, and Nair. Mentioned. I Got a Feeling by the Black Eyed Peas. Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. Hot and Cold by Katy Perry. I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry. Hips Don't Lie by Shakira. Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake. Izuku was in training to become a hero. No, a pro hero. The number one hero, the symbol of peace. He already had his provincial license. He'd faced danger again and again in the form of the League of Villains, the Hero Killer Stain, and the 8 Precepts of Death. He'd nearly died a few times, fought until he scarred himself, yet was strong enough to take down even some of the nastiest villains. As nervous and timid as he could be at times, he was nothing if not brave. He never gave up. It was because of all these experiences and attributes associated with the young hero that even Bakugo was vaguely caught off guard when the Greenette simply ran away. The moment Izuku realized he'd spoken aloud, he activated One for All full cowling in order to make a quick escape from the gymnasium. Bakugo had expected him to at least stutter out that his mumbling had been accidental, which it almost always was. He deserved some kind of explanation either way. Who did Izuku think he was revealing to someone that he was in love with them just to bolt like a scared deer? And if it wasn't enough, his mic hadn't even been turned on, which meant everybody else in his class was staring at him awaiting details on what had just occurred. Dude, Ciro voiced as most of the class wrenched their eyes away from the door Izuku had exited. What the heck did you say to him? I don't think I've ever seen him run from you like that before. Not even during that first fight at the beginning of the year, and you looked terrifying back then. Deku-kun looked scared. Uraraka spoke sadly. It only took her a moment for her protective side to come to light though, putting her hands on her hips and eyebrows furrowing in anger as she marched towards the explosive blonde. You'd better go fix whatever you did, Bakugo. I know you guys have been on better terms lately, and I cannot fathom what you could have said to him to make him take off like that, but you're going to talk to him and apologize for whatever you said to upset him. I didn't say anything. Bakugo growled defensively. Explosions escaped his palms, but Uraraka stood her ground. He accidentally mumbled something he didn't mean to, so shut the hell up about his actions being my fault. Really? His classmates blinked. Some were surprised, and some were suspicious. What did he say to you for him to run out like that? Ada questioned. It must have been something for him to act so uncharacteristically. He looked quite red too. Was he feeling unwell, perhaps? It could be that he overexerted himself with today's events and it hit him all at once. I do hope he's okay. Minus shook his head, a hand coming to his chin as he showed off a suggestive look. I bet he said something embarrassing like which girl in the class he has the hots for. Sui tilted her head thoughtfully. In a less derogatory way that could have been the case. Is that what happened, Bakugo? When Bakugo's face took on an obvious shade of pink, his classmates became even more confused. None of them had the opportunity to figure out why the usually angry boy was embarrassed though, unless it was for Izuku. With a string of curses, Bakugo turned on his heel before blasting himself off of the stage and stomping out of the gymnasium. Uraraka and Ida turned to the members of the Baka squad once he was out of earshot. You guys are better friends with him than us. Do you know what might have been said to him to make him honest to God blush like that? Kirishima shrugged. We're close, but not even I can get everything out of Bakugo. I do think it has something to do with his relationship with Midoriya though, not some crush on a girl thing. Wrong. Suddenly a peal of laughter turned everyone's attention to the sparkling blonde boy near the back of the stage. Eyes looked at him curiously until he straightened up, wiping away a stray tear from the corner of an eye. All of you are really too blind to see it, aren't you? See what? Aoyama grinned, a finger rising to his lips. It is none of my business to say. This is something Midoriya-kun and Bakugo must deal with among themselves, if you catch my drift. He watched as the gears turned in their heads, realization dawning on those closer to the two boys before the others. The looks on their faces once they connected the dots were hilarious to see. All of those songs about his hero. Not all of the songs were referring to All Might. He even said it himself that first night when he sung some of them for us. Gyro whispered. He's always been so amazed by Bakugo. He admires him more than I admire his manliness. His reaction when he got kidnapped was pretty heart-shattering, ribbit. How did we not see the signs? Ida berated himself and Uraraka. None of you knew. Todoroki asked, his voice betraying his amusement. It was quite obvious. The entire class turned on him on shock. How of all people here did you know? Kaminari shouted. Did Midoriya tell you? Todoroki shook his head. Midoriya and I spar a lot, and after a few sessions I brought up how his movements emulate those of Bakugo's. It didn't take more than a few minutes of his mumbling of all things from Bakugo's skills throughout the years to knowing his favorite food to guess maybe he felt more than just admiration for him. After hearing him talk about Bakugo this and Bakugo that, I honestly expected for the blonde to realize it far before Midoriya accidentally told him, which is what I guess must have happened with that mumbling habit he has. Midoriya is quite hopeless despite his amazing heroic qualities. Mina seemed like he was about to faint. but Midoriya would always get all blush-y around girls. How could he be gay? Gyro sent him a scathing glare. Bisexuality exists too, you little pervert. Bakugo though, of all of the dudes to fall for it had to be that hothead. Oh no, what if Bakugo breaks his heart? Midoriya is a cinnamon roll who won't be able to take a harsh letdown. Kaminari bemoaned. Hagakure seconded him. Suyu made a noise, deep in thought. I don't think Bakugo will reject his feelings in the end. While I do worry about how a relationship between the two would continue to work out, I think they will end up together after a bit of struggle. The getting together part is what is going to hurt the most. In the end, struggle, hurt the most. What do you mean? Nina worried. The green-haired girl sighed. I'm pretty sure Bakugo is going to do something foolish like tell Midoriya his feelings are wrong and that he's being delusional, and until he gets over his little crush that they will need space. As academically smart as Bakugo is, he's also not used to feeling a lot of, well, feelings. His emotions are usually some variation of anger, frustration, and the occasional guilt or satisfaction. For Midoriya to admit he likes him more than that of a friend is probably overwhelming. He's not going to know how to handle that affection. Yaoyorozu frowned. He's going to reject it because he's never had to deal with it on this level. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Uraraka seemed sick after the exchange, and she hadn't overused her quirk. Turning to Ida, she tugged on his nearest hand. Yes, Uraraka. We should go check on Deku-kun before bed. If what Tsu guesses comes true, then he's going to need some of his friends tonight. In Izuku's room, Tsuyu had been right. Izuku lied on his bed trying to stop his tears from flowing. His arm was wet with failure at this, his eyes reddening as his tear ducts worked harder than they had in a while. The most recent conversation was still fresh in his mind, and every second the sadness in his hollow chest threatened to send more tears. You can't be in love with me, Deku. Bakugo had started with after catching up to Izuku and forcing them to talk in the younger's room. I don't care how amazing you think I am. I will never be good for you, and with the way you constantly are hurting yourself following in All Might's footsteps, neither of us should burden each other by getting into a relationship. We'll only end up hurting each other. That's not true, Kaken. There are plenty of hero duos and heroes in relationships. I know it would be challenging at first, but it's not going to happen. We are not going to happen. The first tears collected in Izuku's eyes. Anger became apparent in them as well. You're absolutely sure about that? The question was more of a plea, to which Bakugo answered with regret lacing every syllable. Yeah, I am. Izuku felt the unrequited feelings sear his heart painfully. Fine. If you're going to reject me though, you should at least tell me you just don't like me in that way instead of going with the other countless reasons we might not work out. I never said I didn't like you back. Shit, I care about you more than anyone else in my life. Even my own parents. But if you return my feelings, then why can't we? Because I'll never be who you need me to be. Bakugo shouted, tears springing to his own eyes in frustration. You spent our entire childhood chasing my back, and sooner or later you'll be ahead of me. I'll only drag you down to my level. Hell, you haven't improved your quirk in a while, and for all I know it's because you're still too focused on me. That's not. If you would just stop following me, then maybe you'd be closer to becoming the next symbol of peace like you're destined to. Kaken, I can only become the symbol of peace because of you. Without you pushing me to give it my all and do my best no matter the hardships, I wouldn't be here. Don't you get it? You can't let the past go, but I have, and I'm telling you that I really, really like you. Why can't you give me a chance? Give us a chance. Your head is still stuck in the clouds after all these years. Maybe in your fantasy we'd be together and happy, fighting side by side against villains, even be #1 heroes together, but life doesn't cater to your every need or desire. You knew that the day you were deemed quirkless. Izuku flinched. Please don't walk away because you're scared, Kaken. I'm not fucking scared. Don't lie to me. Bakugo let out a small explosion intending to get Izuku to shut up. Instead, Izuku surged forward after his friend's hand stopped sparking and chanced pulling the angry boy into a tight hug. Bakugo did not return the gesture, yet he didn't push him away either. I'm scared too, you know. Shut up, Deku. Kaken, can't you be selfish this one time and listen to your heart instead of your brain? Shut up, Deku. Izuku lost his patience a second before Bakugo did. No. Finally having had enough, Bakugo pushed Izuku away before grabbing the other boy by the front of his shirt. Red eyes glared into unwavering green as Izuku stood his ground. That tough facade shattered in an instant when Bakugo crashed his lips to his own in a rough first kiss. The feeling caught Izuku off guard, his brain stalling and body relaxing at the sensation. He could feel his hands reaching for Bakugo to pull him closer. However, the kiss barely lasted a few seconds. Before Izuku could bring himself to grab onto the blonde, he was already being shoved away again. I'm sorry. With those two foreign words as his parting ones, Bakugo fled Izuku's room before the fallen boy could pick himself off of the floor. Why does he have to be so stupid? Izuku spoke to his ceiling, head throbbing from crying for so long. From his phone he had his heartbreak playlist playing, which probably wasn't improving his mood. The lyrics of Impossible by Chantel made him want to shove his face into his pillow and scream. I remember years ago someone told me I should take caution when it comes to love. I did, and you were strong and I was not. Wasn't that the truth? My illusion, my mistake, I was careless, I forgot. I did, and now when all is done there is nothing to say. There was, but Izuku had no idea what to tell Bakugo to change his mind. You have gone, and so effortlessly, you have won. You can go ahead, tell them. Tell them all I know now. Shout it from the rooftops. Write it on the skyline. All we had is gone now. Tell them I was happy and my heart is broken. All my scars are open. Tell them what I hoped would be impossible, 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 impossible. He was probably becoming dehydrated at this point. He'd always been a heavy crier, a trait his mother and he shared. Still, he didn't want to go downstairs where he knew his curious classmates might be hanging around overly concerned for his well-being as always. He wasn't ready to talk to them yet. He would probably just burst into tears all over again. His lips still tingled too. As fate would have it though, the universe was against his wishes. Just as he told himself he needed more time to calm down, a soft knock at his door sounded. Deku-kun. Uraraka's worried voice came from the hallway. Can Ida-kun and I come in? If not, then please just tell us how you're doing. It is past curfew, but I do not think I can sleep without being assured you are okay after seeing you leave the gymnasium so quickly. We're your friends, Midoriya. You can talk to us. Curse Ida-kun for using the same words I used on him, Izuku thought hopelessly. He knew he needed to talk to the two of them. They were his best friends. It was about time he came clean, if not for their sake then for his. Come in. When Uraraka and Ida entered, they made sure to close the door behind them before rushing to their friend's side. Almost immediately Izuku burst into tears at the obvious concern on their faces, and suddenly the three of them were pulled into a group hug. They stayed like that for some time as Izuku told them about his longtime feelings for Bakugo and how they had developed. This meant he told them everything. The time when they were best friends as kids, the downfall that took place when he was deemed quirkless while Bakugo had gotten an amazing quirk, the years of bullying this had caused not just by the blonde's hands but others who followed his example. He didn't even leave out the incident at their middle school about the room before moving on to the story of the slime villain everyone had seen on the news. Even as he got into his perspective during the heroes versus villains battle in their foundational hero studies class, the two consoling him kept quiet. He could tell at times they wanted to say something, sometimes very badly, but they stayed silent for his sake. Soon he was telling them about how he'd felt during their final exam against All Might. How frustrated he'd been when Bakugo admitted he would rather lose than work with him, and how that had hurt worse than any explosion he'd ever been hit with. The admiration and genuine care Izuku expressed for Bakugo as he spoke were beginning to make sense to the two listening to his perspective. Uraraka-kun, you were there when Kaken got taken by the League of Villains, he said brokenly. When he vanished in the warp gate, he told me to stay back. The look in his eyes when he told me that wasn't anger. He looked terrified, but I don't think he was really scared at that moment for himself. I could have reached him, could have been pulled in along with them, but after everything that had happened between Shigaraki and I as well as my injuries, Kaken knew something I would understand until later. If I had gone through that gate after him, I might not have survived. In the state I was in, I would have been absolutely useless. Shigaraki told me the next time he saw me that he would probably finish me off, and how would my death have helped rescue Kaken? It wouldn't have. So the fear in Kaken's eyes when he told me to stay back was because he was scared for me rather than himself. For a while I had been losing hope that Kaken actually cared even a tiny bit about me. Part of me was beginning to become convinced that he really did hate me. But how can someone who doesn't care about me be scared for my life? He continued telling them about their encounters, one of which being the fight that led to them both getting detention. A meaningless fight it had started out as had become all but meaningless when it ended with them becoming proper rivals. But we didn't just become rivals then. We had always been rivals despite it being a healthy rivalry or not. After that fight we finally started talking to each other. It might have taken years and years, I might have given him too many chances to get to that point, but that night we slowly started becoming friends again. Of course Kaken is still Kaken. Even so, I could feel those feelings of love begin to suffocate me all over again as if they'd never stopped. And then tonight, he admitted he cared about me more than his own parents. He kissed me. It was only after he told me we would never happen though, and before he apologized. He's never apologized to me my entire life. And never. Once he was finished explaining everything, nearly an hour had passed. Ida was getting tired, but Uraraka knew they couldn't leave their friend like this. Deku-kun, she started after the trio had pulled away from one another. If what you're saying is true, then Bakugo does like you back. That means you can't give up now. You just need to get it through his thick skull that your feelings are real, and that you two can work if you just try. You're not going to let him go now after everything you just told us, are you? You're the Deku that does his best. The Deku that can do anything, even this. Ida placed a comforting hand on Izuku's shoulder, squeezing lightly. I agree with her. While I never could grasp your feelings towards Bakugo before, after hearing your story I think I am beginning to see the connection. It still pains me to know how horribly he treated you in the past, even if it was somewhat of a misunderstanding on his part. If he is who you want in your life to make you happy though, then I trust your decision. You are strong, Midoriya. You can take care of yourself should the relationship between you two revert back for worse. However, you have taught me people can change. The changes Bakugo is going through are slow, but he is becoming a better person, and it is because of you. Izuku let out a small laugh, a smile gracing his wet, red face. With his shaking hand he put his hand atop Ida's. His other hand found Uraraka's open palm. Thank you, he stated sincerely. Both of you are the best friends I could ask for. I love you guys. Deku-kun. We love you too. Midoriya, you are too kind. After much humbleness, the two visitors went to leave. It was only at the doorway that Ida thought to warn his friend about the rest of his classmates. By the way, the rest of our classmates questioned Bakugo after you left tonight. While he didn't answer any of their inquiries, we all managed to put 2 and 2 together about your mutual feelings for one another, and we anticipated Bakugo would be rash at first, leading to your rejection. I would advise you just ignore everyone tomorrow, as they most likely will be able to read the energy of the room and will try not to mention Bakugo in your presence. Anyway, try to get some rest. With that, the duo left, leaving Izuku blushing and gaping at the door. Everyone knows. The next day. To say the following morning was awkward would have been an understatement. Good morning. Izuku smiled at his friends as he stepped into the classroom. He greeted Uraraka, Ida, and Todoroki in turn before Aoyama stopped him, a handkerchief of assorted cheeses being shoved into his hands. The gesture, while a tad strange, warmed Izuku's heart. After politely thanking him and biting into a block of cheese for good measure, the brunette made his way to his seat behind Bakugo like he would any other day. It was only once he'd sat down that Shiro, who sat beside Izuku, noticed a lone earbud in one of his ears. Listening to music this early morning, Midoriya. You really have been spending too much time with Gyro. Izuku smiled sheepishly. It was forced just like the one he'd given upon entry to the classroom, but no one dared to comment on it. Gyro-kun is pretty cool. As for the music, listening to it has many beneficial qualities. The short walk to class was peaceful to say the least. What are you listening to? The smile on his face faltered. The question was born from curiosity, but Izuku didn't want anyone to know the depressing songs that made up his heartbreak playlist. If anyone ever found out he had a playlist like it in the first place, he would be beyond embarrassed. It's nothing. Just the music for the upcoming performances. He felt bad for lying, but it was for his friends' sakes as well as his own. If they knew he was listening to such sad songs, they would just worry even more. What hurts the most was being so close and having so much to say, played from his single earbud, and watching you walk away. And never knowing what could have been, and not seeing that loving you is what I was trying to do. Izuku really needed to pull himself together. From there, the tension in the room settled down some, his answer satisfying Shiro. He put his earbuds away a few minutes later when the door opened to reveal an ever-tired Aizawa inching his way and clad in his telltale yellow sleeping bag. As he began his lecture, most of class 1 gradually forgot about the crisis 2 of their classmates were currently going through. That was until later in the day during their foundational hero studies class being taught by Aizawa and All Might. They just had to pick that day for a supposed to be low-stress game of tag. The objective is simple. Their homeroom teacher began in an almost bored tone. One of you will be it, while the rest of you will have to avoid that person like the plague. If you are tagged, you are not allowed to tag the person who tagged you back. The game ends in half an hour, and those who remain untagged throughout the game, and if the original person who is it does not get tagged back once tagging their first victim, wins. Hagakure, you're it to start. Several students groaned at that, Hagakure cackling as she took off her gloves, leaving her completely invisible to everyone. She would be tagging somebody in no time. After that, it would be a simple game of hide and go seek for her, except there would be no way to find her once she tagged the first victim. All Might spoke up just as Aizawa was going to tell them to begin, and don't forget to utilize your quirks. If someone who is it comes after you, you're allowed to use your quirks to escape or even fight the person off. No seriously hurting each other though. Have fun. Fun, he said. If only he'd known how chaotic having a class of heroes in training playing tag in a limited area would turn out to be. As Hagakure would have it, Ajiro was tagged first. "Aw man," he said with a wry grin, "I should have known you'd come after me." "Oh well, good luck out there, okay. You might be invisible, but you might want to be careful of people's quirks." With that, he took off, his tail propelling him in the direction he'd seen Shiro, Kaminari, and Mina take off in. Halfway through the game, nearly half of the class had been it at some point. Ajiro had tagged Kaminari, who in turn happened upon an all-too-trusting Kirishima, who tagged Minta, who miraculously ran into Kota, who then got Aoyama mid-monologue, who used his laser to blast him straight into Yaoyorozu, who tricked Todoroki into tagging himself, who finally had made it a point to go after a strangely more reserved Bakugo. It had taken him nearly 5 minutes of using his ice and fire to outmaneuver the blonde, and one of the prop buildings had its windows blown to pieces, but once he had tagged the explosive teenager, he couldn't help but feel some pride. He knew Izuku was hurting because of Bakugo's hard-headedness. Making the blonde lose was almost a form of revenge with how serious he was about winning. And then things took a turn for the worse. Izuku, who had been on the move with Uraraka and Tsuyu, ran around the corner of the building Bakugo and Todoroki were currently standing. The trio of newcomers looked between the two boys apprehensively. It was only after Todoroki pointed to Bakugo and stated he's it that anyone started moving. When they did start moving, however, everything happened fast. Tsuyu immediately wrapped her tongue around Uraraka's waist and flung the girl back around the building. As she prepared to do the same to Midoriya, she caught explosions from the corner of her eye. Bakugo was rocketing towards her faster than she would be able to get away. She was fast when it came to jumping, sure, but she was nowhere near fast enough to evade an intent Bakugo who had just lost the game. Just as she was prepared to be tagged though, a ripple of power came from the boy standing next to her. "I don't think so, Kaken." The force of Izuku's kick created air pressure that not only took Bakugo by surprise, but the classmates that were nearby as well. From the shadows, Takoyami hummed in surprise as the raw power he'd witnessed. That was not a move they had ever seen him use before. They knew he had been getting in some training in the mornings, yet to have a new move that powerful showcased during a game of tag was something else. The move was also long range, which was completely different from Izuku's usual close combat fighting style. Todoroki's eyes widened in shock as he came to a realization. The move reminded him so much of one of All Might's punches that it only reaffirmed his guess that Midoriya had to be his secret love child. Maybe his friend would never tell him the truth, but he would believe it until proven otherwise. Bakugo used explosions from his gauntlets to break his fall. He still landed quite a distance away though, a spark of anger lighting up his eyes. What the hell was that, Deku? Have you been holding out during our sparring sessions? We haven't sparred for over a week, Kaken, and I've been working on that move for only about 5 days. Why, are you worried you won't be able to tag me now that I've improved a bit more? Yeah, right. Prepare to die, Deku. With it, the blonde threw himself forward, changing course in midair to come from the side rather than an all-out assault. What he didn't expect was Izuku to flick his middle finger similar to how he used to do when he'd first gotten his quirk. The resulting billowing force that came from the attack wasn't the 100% the blonde was expecting, perhaps just over 22% since the output felt a little stronger than his most recent 20%. His finger wasn't broken or even bruised either from what he could tell. Izuku had improved since the last time he'd asked, it seemed. A grin cut across the blonde's face, red eyes simmering in challenge rather than anger as they locked onto Izuku's own burning green ones. The shorter boy's entire demeanor screamed desire for a fight. For a moment, Bakugo thought perhaps his friend had taken the rejection worse than he'd originally guessed he would, that he was choosing to fight because he was angry or upset. As he stared into his eyes though, he realized that wasn't the case. Izuku wasn't burning with anger or sadness, he was burning with determination. He sought this fight because he wanted to prove himself. Another meaningless fight, huh? Bakugo called from across the road. From his periphery he noticed several other classmates watching them in mute worry. It seemed they wanted to step in, yet understood this was between the two of them only. Powering up one for all at a lower capacity, Izuku's body glowed white with power. You could say that. From the observation room in a nearby building. Oh dear, All Might groaned as he watched the two most problematic students of the class hurtle towards each other. From where he stood next Aizawa watching the events from the screen, he had to say he was proud of Izuku. The move he'd used to stop Tsuyu from getting tagged was nearly perfectly executed. On the other hand, the way the two are going at each other now is worrisome. Something is definitely different between the two. They've been getting along rather well lately though, so did something happen without me knowing? The energy and stakes of this fight seem much higher than they should be for such a simple exercise. The underground hero next to him merely sighed, a hand coming up to rub the bridge of his nose in irritation. These two kids are going to be the death of me. I should just expel them both now and be done with it. Don't be too hasty, shoutout. They are just playing a very serious game of tag it seems. That's not the point. Knowing them, they're going to just keep fighting instead of letting the game go on as planned. This was supposed to be a low-stress exercise, but just look at them. They're destroying building after building. This is not a healthy way to work things out among each other. They are still technically playing tag though. Sure, it would be child's play for Bakugo to go after someone else, but Midoriya seems to be who he's decided to target. And they are technically allowed to use their environment to their advantage. This isn't a mission, so any destruction is allowed. Maybe fighting like this will help settle whatever little quarrel they got into this time. Aizawa turned to glare at All Might as if he were the biggest idiot in the world. Little quarrel? Yagi, do you have any idea what is happening between those two boys? What do you mean? They're proper rivals, I know, and I believe they are becoming friends. Why, you seriously have no idea. The dark-haired adult clicked his tongue. Even Present Mike and Midnight are more perceptive than you, and that's saying something. All Might frowned. Was there a development I might have missed? Surely it isn't something too bad. Was it another fight like from before the internships? Not really a fight per se, from what I gathered from some of my most chatty students. He would need to give Hagakure and Mina a talk about gossiping. It appears the two have feelings for one another. Romantic feelings. This was a surprise to All Might. He had always thought he had a thing for Uraraka, perhaps even the young Todoroki. After spending a few seconds processing the news, part of him did see the connection between the two more clearly. Suddenly his successor harboring romantic feelings for the other made sense. Bakugo returning those feelings though, now that All Might could not fully comprehend. Well, he managed to stutter out awkwardly, good for them. As long as they both are happy and treat each other right, then. It seems Bakugo rejected Midoriya last night. All Might froze. Then, after slowly turning to face the other teacher, he spoke. He what? Now All Might wasn't a perfect man. While he did do decades worth of hero work and saved more lives than he could count, he could blunder. His refusal to make amends with Sir Night-Eye long before the incident that brought them together being just one of his mistakes. It was also true that he didn't get angry all too often outside of dealing with villains. Right then, however, a fierce feeling of protectiveness surged in his chest that he'd never felt before. Midoriya wasn't his biological son, but he loved the boy like his own. If you're going to say to stop the exercise because you want to speak with either one of them, forget it. Aizawa warned tersely. This is something they need to figure out. If you butt your head into their romantic life, then chances are you are just going to make things more strained. A loud boom made itself known then, the entire building they were in shaking from the force of whatever had caused the sound. The adults immediately turned their attention back to the screen before their eyes went wide. There in the middle of a pile of rubble that used to be a 2-story building was Bakugo. Broken concrete and glass littered the ground around him where he lied on his back in a small crater. A few other students gaped at the destruction, eyes all zeroing in on the figure slowly making his way towards the fallen blonde. Said figure was out of breath and trembling, but his eyes seemed to glow as he made his way to stand before Bakugo. "You went easy on me." The words were so quiet Bakugo almost didn't hear them. "You went easy on me," Izuku repeated brokenly. His eyes welled up with tears as he attempted to glare at his childhood friend and crush. "Why, you've never gone easy on me. And you did it knowing I wanted to prove how much stronger I've gotten." "Why, Kaken? All I wanted to do was show you I have improved, and that you're not the reason I wasn't getting stronger. You were supposed to fight back." Bakugo stayed silent, his lips sealed shut as Izuku clenched his teeth. I guess this was just a meaningless fight after all. With that Izuku walked away, turning his back on the blonde fully. He brushed past a stock-still Ida who had been observing the fight nearby in case he needed to intervene. "I'm going see recovery girl," Izuku stated tonelessly. The class rep nodded. Anything he wanted to say to help his friend would have to wait until they were in their own company. Back at the dorms, after school. "I ruined the exercise, didn't I?" Izuku moaned in anguish. "Not really," Uraraka comforted. "After you left, Kirishima went to see how Bakugo was and got tagged again. He got Mina and the game went on from there, although everyone decided to leave Bakugo alone for the rest of the game. He seemed more despondent than usual. I think he was just really lost in thought." Izuku nodded mutely. Todoroki and Ida didn't offer anything either, so Uraraka sighed before trying to lift the mood again. "You proved yourself to Bakugo like you wanted though, didn't you? Those new moves you used were insane. I mean, you literally blew him away. Multiple times." "He was holding back," Todoroki stated bluntly. At this Ida and Uraraka seemed skeptical, but Izuku merely murmured in agreement. Both of them were holding back, to be honest. Midoriya was still respecting the rules of the exercise by making sure not to physically hit him. While he did indeed keep Bakugo from touching him, therefore tagging him, he could have done more damage than just demolishing an entire building and breaking several windows. Bakugo could also have attacked more powerfully, but he chose not to. Ida hummed in thought. Perhaps he was going easy on him unconsciously. Part of him might have been guilty about rejecting him last night, or maybe after realizing his feelings for Midoriya he decided he didn't want to really hurt him. They did kiss last night, Uraraka mused, so maybe that has something to do with it. Todoroki's brows furrowed. He turned to Izuku, eyes doubtful. "You kissed Bakugo." The brunette blushed deeply. "He kissed me, actually." After he said he doubted my feelings for him to be anything more than a delusion. A few seconds of silence passed before the fire and ice user suddenly spoke. When he did, his tone was incredulous, as if he didn't understand how no one had thought of his idea beforehand. "Midoriya, if he rejected you because he doubts his feelings for you, then why not just do something to prove yourself sincere? Surely he'd have to rethink things then. He also doesn't think he's good enough for Deku-kun," Uraraka added. "What would he do to prove to Bakugo his feelings and intentions are true, and that he is good enough for our friend though? Surely it would take more than a simple conversation or small gesture to get the point across. I also feel like it would take more than just Midoriya to convince him of this," Ida said. Todoroki, Ida, and Uraraka brainstormed a few things aloud, but none of their ideas seemed good enough. None of the ideas seemed grand enough to break through Bakugo's stubborn head and in turn soften his heart. That was until Izuku suddenly yelled, "That's it," before jumping off his bed and onto the floor. "Guys, I have an idea that just might work. It's going to be a bit embarrassing, but I think if it goes well Kaken will finally listen to me. The only problem is I'm going to need a lot of help." Ida raised his hand in question. "How much assistance do you require? The three of us here will surely help in any way we can, rest assured." Izuku smiled, gratitude for his friends overflowing as the other two nodded in agreement. "For what I'm planning, I'm going to need the whole class to help me out. Do you three mind discreetly asking everyone to meet in the gymnasium after dinner? Kaken will probably go up to his room to do homework alone as long as everyone pretends to be busy with their own thing right after we eat, and then we can slip away without him catching on." "Of course we can do that," Uraraka ensured with a fist punch to the air. "But what exactly are you going to do to make Bakugo swoon?" The brunette sheepishly pointed to the ear mic sitting on his dresser. "I'm going to sing. After dinner, in the gymnasium." "Oh my gosh, this is going to be like High School Musical, but better because we're in it." Hagakure gushed. Her enthusiasm spilled over to the rest of her classmates. It seemed every one of them wanted to help either Izuku or Bakugo out. "If they get together, then there will be more girls for me," Mina tried to give us his explanation for helping. Everyone knew he just wanted Izuku to be happy though. Even if he was a pervert, Izuku was still his friend. "It's more of a flash mob than a musical, but I am still totally all for it." Lina grinned. Gyro nodded. "Izuku and I will put together a remix of what songs we're all going to sing then. We can probably get done tonight actually, since I did my homework before dinner. What do you say, Midoriya-kun?" That works for me. I already have some song lyrics picked out, so after splicing things together to flow better we can probably email it to everyone tonight. Is everyone okay if we assign parts to you all beforehand? That way I can just tell you which part or parts before we practice tomorrow. His classmates agreed after a few requests, a couple of them being vetoed by either Gyro, Izuku, or the entire class. Okay, so we meet here tomorrow after dinner again. What if Bakugo notices we're all missing though? Izuku held up his phone a bit guiltily. I sort of texted Shinsu-kun to act as a bouncer of sorts for tomorrow already. We were going to spar after class as it was, and he said he'd be happy to keep Kaken from finding out about the surprise as long as he could watch our impromptu performance. Sounds good to me, Gyro said with a shrug. Alright everybody, we meet here tomorrow a little bit after dinner. We practice until we get it down. After that, Kirishima fetches Bakugo and Midoriya-kun sweeps the explosive idiot off of his feet. Everyone got that? Yeah, practice had been brutal at first. Guys, we're going for a performance like in Pitch Perfect or Victorious. Get your head out of those cliché Disney Channel preteen musicals and move like you actually care whether or not Midori gets laid. Mina-kun, as if Izuku wasn't mortified enough. He was literally putting together an impromptu song and dance number in order to get his crush to take him seriously. Are you sure we can't sing the song we suggested yesterday? Kirishima asked with puppy eyes, his bottom lip wobbling. Beside him Kaminari, Mina, and Siro were also looking at Izuku and Gyro pleadingly. We even changed the lyrics to better fit your situation. Izuku almost caved in, but luckily for him Gyro wasn't as easily swayed. She knew this was about Izuku. As enthusiastic as the Baka squad was about their idea, it just wouldn't fit the mood of the serenade. By the time an hour and a half had passed they had made considerable progress. Everyone knew where they were supposed to be at what points during the routine, what they were supposed to sing and with who when the time came, and the minimal moves they were taught to support Izuku's own were pretty solid. Gyro and Izuku had their ear mics on, the speakers were in place, and Minta was already seated in front of Izuku's computer ready to press the start button for the music. Kota was giving Gyro a thumbs up where he stood by the lighting control board. That meant all there was left to do was wait until Kirishima texted Mina that he'd successfully retrieved Bakugo and was on his way to the gymnasium. You feeling ready, Deku-kun? Uraraka asked as everyone scrambled to get into position. Mina had just gotten a text from Kirishima saying they had left the dorms, which meant they had about a minute to get in place. As ready as I'll ever be. His voice shook with nervousness. While he was sure this would work, part of him was still terrified that he would mess everything up. The girl standing before him noticed. Pushing aside the feelings she'd been harboring for him for some time, she took a deep breath before pulling him into a hug. You're going to do great, she spoke as he immediately returned her gesture. He didn't know how much he needed that hug until he'd gotten it. Just remember who you're singing to, okay? Don't pay attention to what anyone else is doing. We know our parts and are here for you. Trust us not to let you down. I will, Uraraka-kun. Thank you. They pulled away a moment later, Uraraka walking away just as Izuku noticed Shinsu coming through the main entrance. They'll be here in less than 30 seconds, he stated tonelessly before going to stand on the sidelines next to Minta and Tsuyu. Izuku closed his eyes. After taking a few deep breaths to calm himself down a bit, he opened his eyes and set his gaze on the door. When Bakugo all but kicked the door and a moment later hardened green met a surprised red. It was now or never. A few seconds before. Was that zombie eyes I just saw go inside? Bakugo questioned the redhead next to him. Said friend shrugged like he hadn't seen the obvious purple-haired teenager go inside the gymnasium from across the way. At the lack of response, Bakugo's eyes narrowed. Something is off, the blonde thought to himself. Kirishima is almost never this quiet, and for zombie eyes to be here for a supposed class rehearsal doesn't make any sense either since he's in the general education department. Not to mention everybody else in class was already there to begin with. This has that stupid nerd written all over it. He's planned something, hasn't he? It didn't take more than a few more seconds to find out that he'd been right. The moment he kicked the door to the gymnasium open, he noticed that amidst the low light Izuku was standing center stage in a plain t-shirt that read tuxedo on it. What caught him more off guard though was the fact that most of his classmates were set up as if in place to sing, which didn't make any sense at all. Just as he opened his mouth to ask Kirishima what the heck was going on, Izuku cut him off. By singing, no less. Another day is going by, I'm thinking about you all the time. He began along with the music Gyro and he had spliced together the night before, but you're out there, and I'm here waiting. Gyro and Uraraka joined in then, either one of them at Izuku's side. The feeling of them standing beside him boosted his confidence immensely. And I wrote this letter in my head cause so many things were left unsaid, but now you're gone and I can't think straight. This could be the one last chance to make you understand. Suddenly Kota took his cue to flick up the rest of the stage switches in the back, illuminating the gymnasium and bathing it in light. Immediately his classmates started clapping along to the beat. I'd do anything, the trio sang, and Izuku walked forward to the end of the stage, just to hold you in my arms, to try to make you laugh. Somehow I can't put you in the past. I'd do anything just to fall asleep with you. Will you remember me? Cause I know I won't forget you. The song switched then, the entire atmosphere changing as everyone stopped clapping. Gyro and Uraraka stopped singing in favor of Yaoyorozu's soft voice complimenting Izuku's. The lights dimmed again. Now there's gravel in our voices, glass is shattered from the fight. In this tug of war you'll always win, even when I'm right, they sang morosely. Cause you feed me fables from your head with violent words and empty threats, and it's sick that all these battles are what keeps me satisfied. As Bakugo listened, he felt himself tensing to leave, a part of him wanting to turn around and walk out before Izuku could finish whatever endearing, stupid mishmash of songs he'd decided to sing. A hand on his shoulder stopped him though. Kirishima's red-eyed gaze bore into Bakugo's own, his usually aloof, happy face set in serious determination. Just gonna stand there and watch me burn, but that's alright because I like the way it hurts. The blonde listening clenched his fists as he listened. Izuku knew what this song was about, didn't he? While Bakugo had apologized for what he'd done in the past, the reminder still rubbed him the wrong way. The feeling of guilt that sprung to his chest had him tugging his arm away from the redhead only for his friend to harden his arm and grip. Just gonna stand there and hear me cry, but that's alright because I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie. Oh, I love the way you lie. Bakugo, please stay until the end. Kirishima pleaded. I know this isn't what you expected, but at least hear him out entirely. Zero and I will make sure you listen otherwise. Whatever you need to say can wait until the end, okay? Please. The threat and plea were clear as day, the former of which would have normally pissed Bakugo off, as it was something about it coming from Kirishima had him begrudgingly backing off. He supposed he could allow himself be serenaded. It wasn't like enjoyed listening to the nerd's voice or anything. So maybe I'm a masochist. I try to run, Izuku's eyes slipped closed, but I don't want to ever leave. Till the walls are going up in smoke with all our memories. Yaoyorozu faded out just as the music changed once more, Mina and Hagakure jumping in to stand by Izuku each with a microphone in hand. This instrumental was much livelier than the previous. The sound of violins filled the room, and Bakugo found himself really looking at Izuku as he moved in sync with the two girls singing with him. I swear, you're the only reason I keep breathing. I swear, you keep on giving me the reason to keep believing. The three did a few simple one-armed movements as they stepped forward or side to side languidly. It was a bit in contrast to the passionate looks on their faces as they sang. Finally, I'm worth it. Though I'm not perfect, it still feels right, and I keep on giving, trying to make a difference in my life. I don't know another way to show everything I can be for you. You're all that I'll ever need. They did a slow spin before standing in place. I'll give you the best of me. Bakugo watched in stubborn silence as Kaminari was given the microphone Uraraka had been using in the first song. The guitarist seemed to be readying himself to jump in at a moment's notice. Oh, I'm not leaving? No. I won't be turning around. I want to know you now. Your love, it won't let me down. Just as anticipated, the two girls spun out of the way the same moment Izuku stepped back to stand shoulder to shoulder with Kaminari. The two locked eyes before quickly pushing away from each other, arms outstretched as if trying to keep themselves a certain distance apart. Please don't stand so close to me. I'm having trouble breathing, the duet performed. They brought a hand to their chests, simultaneously moving even farther apart from one another. I'm afraid of what you'll see right now. I give you everything I am, all my broken heartbeats, until I know you'll understand. They turned to face each other from where they stood at either end of the stage. Opposite arms were thrown out towards each other before bringing their hands up to the side of their heads. And I will make sure to keep my distance. Say, I love you when you're not listening. And how long can we keep this up? The blonde standing next to Kirishima nearly blanched when he saw Todoroki grabbing a microphone from Mina. Just as a quieter guitar tune started up, he and Izuku met each other in the middle of the stage. Oh no, this couldn't be more unexpected, and I can tell you I've been moving in so slow. Don't let it throw you off too far, cause I'll be running right behind you. Bakugo huffed at the words. To him they had a double meaning. For one, they made him think of how Izuku's been literally chasing his back since they were kids. He'd done it the day in the woods, the day of their final exam, and so many times in between. In another sense, the lyrics made him think of how far Izuku had come since they were 4. The timid, crying Izuku that defended the other weak children growing up was still there. However, he wasn't weak enough to find himself too hurt in the crossfire anymore. Unlike when he was quirkless, he could defend himself. He was still timid at times, and his crying habit cropped up now and again, yet he was definitely someone Bakugo respected. Even if Bakugo could still beat him in a serious fight after their scuffle during tag, it was obvious it wouldn't stay like that forever. Izuku wasn't really running behind Bakugo anymore. They were leaping and bounding together, neck and neck, picking each other up along the way. Bakugo remembered their meaningless fight weeks ago when he'd thought Izuku had finally outrun him, that he'd been left behind. For once in his life, he'd never felt such relief at being so undeniably wrong. Izuku hadn't left him behind in the dust of his own improvement. He'd been standing just in front of Bakugo with a helpful hand outstretched. The brunette would never abandon him like Bakugo had growing up. Could this be out of line? Izuku swallowed. Could this be out of line? Todoroki echoed. To say you're the only one breaking me down like this, they finished together. You're the only one I would take a shot on, keep me hanging on so contagiously. Bakugo was still deep in thought when he noticed Kirishima slip away from his side. The changing out from Todoroki singing to Shoji and Sato went mostly unnoticed since the two only really repeated the lyrics Izuku sang for emphasis. They stayed near the back of the stage where they had been the entire time. And I'll miss your laugh, your smile. I'll admit I'm wrong if you tell me. I'm so sick of fights, I hate them. Let's start this again for real. Izuku was just as lively as ever though. His face and body movements were rich with expression as he meandered around the stage. It was actually interesting to watch, all of Bakugo's attention following the other boys' movements without fail. He was so glad the brunette was up on stage and not doing something silly like running down to him. The blonde wasn't sure if he'd be able to take it if he did. So here I am, I'm trying, so here I am, are you ready? So here I am, I'm trying, so here I am, are you ready? The music changed again, the instruments quieting down in an abrupt crescendo. I will never let you fall, Takoyami and Ajiro's deeper voices mixed with Izuku's. I'll stand up with you forever. I'll be there for you through it all, even if saving you sends me to heaven. 'Cause you're mine. My true love, my whole heart, please don't throw that away. 'Cause I'm here for you. Please don't walk away and please tell me you'll stay. Then, completely throwing Bakugo off, Kirishima and Shiro starting singing all by themselves. What was even worse was the fact that they were making their way towards him. Sometimes you wonder if this fight is worthwhile. The precious moments are all lost in the tide, yeah. The two boys sang pretty well as they closed in on their friend, but they were nowhere near as musically inclined as several who had sung before them. They're swept away and nothing is what it seems, the feeling of belonging to your dreams. And then they were striking dramatic poses, entirely serious despite looking rather silly. Bakugo merely stared at them in mild second-hand embarrassment as they proceeded to sing their hearts out. Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart, there's nothing else you can do. They clutched the area over their hearts passionately. I don't know where you're going and I don't know why, but listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye. Another abrupt song change later found Ida of all people gripping a microphone. He stood next to Izuku nervously, eyes glancing at his friend every few words like he was going to be told he'd messed up. Maybe I was wrong for trying to pick a fight. I know that I've got issues, but you're pretty messed up too. Either way I found out I'm nothing without you. Of course Izuku was nothing if not reassuring, an elated smile on his face when he spared a look at Ida before launching into the next verse. 'Cause we belong together now, yeah. Forever united here somehow, yeah. You got a piece of me, and honestly, my life, Izuku sang with Ida echoing him, would suck without you. Being with you is so dysfunctional. I really shouldn't miss you, but I can't let you go. Oh yeah. Ayama swapped with Ida then, the blue-haired student looking relieved to be out of the spotlight. Made a wrong turn once or twice, Izuku and the sparkling blonde began softly, dug my way out, blood and fire. Bad decisions. That's all right. Welcome to my silly life. As the song progressed they raised their voices and allowed some of the vulnerability to slip away. It turned out they are actually very good together when it came to performing. Mistreated, misplaced, misunderstood. Miss no way it's all good. It didn't slow me down. It really hadn't. Mistaken, always second-guessing, underestimated. Look, Izuku locked eyes with Bakugo as he prepared to jump down from the stage. I'm still around. As they went into the chorus all of the brunette's attention was on Bakugo. The words he was singing now were important. Pretty please don't you ever feel like you're less than perfect. Pretty please if you ever feel like you're nothing you are perfect to me. Well, perfectly imperfect as someone could be. You're so mean, Ayama echoed with flair. When you talk, he added in some movements as well, about yourself. You were wrong. Izuku was now only 2 or so yards away from Bakugo. His nerves threatened to throw him off as he took in the full attention he was getting from the other, but he managed to keep his cool. He couldn't afford to mess up now. Change the voices in your head, he continued with his echo, make them like you instead. So complicated, look how we all make it. Filled with so much hatred, such a tired game. He flung a hand out to the side. It's enough. I've done all I can think of, chased down all my demons, I'll see you do the same. Oh, suddenly the music stopped. Everyone's head turned to look at where Minta was supposed to be manning the computer only to find Mina crouching down beside it instead. Minta was a few feet away looking positively scandalized, shouting something about Mina having kicked him out of the way like a purple soccer ball. Gyro ignored the short boy as she attempted to cross the stage to intercept Mina before she finished what she was doing. Since Izuku was nowhere near them he could only wait for what he knew was coming. With a sweat drop he hung his head in momentary defeat. This is going to be so embarrassing, he thought sadly. Kirishima, Kaminari, and Shiro grinned as they surrounded a confused Bakugo like sharks. Each of them held a microphone that they'd lifted off of a few other students just moments before, Mina rocketing off of the stage to join the rest of the Baka squad just as the music to Girlfriend began. Hey, you don't have a boyfriend. No way, we think you need a new one. Hey, you, he could be your boyfriend. The quartet all pointed at Izuku in sync. Said brunette was blushing a deep red while Gyro face-palmed hard at their antics, a few other classmates merely sighing. They should have expected them to carry out their idea anyway. Hey, you, we know that you like him. No way, no it's not a secret. Hey, you, he wants to be your boyfriend. Then the 3 boys began circling Bakugo as they sang, Mina testing her chances of living by putting a hand on her friend's shoulder. You're so fine, friend of mine, you're so explosive. He thinks about you all the time. You're so ferocious. Don't you know his favorite hero is also All Might? Don't pretend, we think you know he's damn precious. Mina winked, and Bakugo took a step back at her bravado. A moment later all of them stopped to throw an arm in the air to punctuate the last word of the next sentence. And hell yeah, you're our Lord Explosion Murder. We can tell you like him too, and you know we're right. They turned to each other then, rolling their eyes and waving their hands about as they sang the next lyric. You're like so, whatever, like you could do any better. We think you should get together now, they belted before pointing at Bakugo, and that's what Class 1A's singing about. Hey, Baku bro, Kirishima serenaded with an arm thrown around him teasingly, you don't have a boyfriend. No way, we think you need a new one. Shiro grinned. Hey, you, he could be your boyfriend. Kaminari finished before all of them joined together for the last bit. Hey, you, we know that you like him. No way, no it's not a secret. Hey, Baku bro, make Deku your boyfriend. Mina was already back at the computer stopping the music before it could go on to the next verses. With a smile not unlike that of a content cat who'd just gotten its way, she put the remix back on with a shout of "We're at stage 11, people," before going back to her original position. Izuku pushed away any frustration and embarrassment he might have been feeling. He honestly thought what Bakugo's closest friends had just pulled off was pretty funny as well executed overall. While Gyro seemed a bit more annoyed for her remix to have been hijacked momentarily, Izuku simply continued with the plan. He was nothing if not adaptable. A deep breath later, he went on to sing with Gyro as planned. You're not alone, together we stand. I'll be by your side, you know I'll take your hand. When it gets cold and it feels like the end, there's no place to go. You know I won't give in. No, I won't give in. Bakugo couldn't help but want to punch something as he listened to the lyrics. So far all of the words had meant something, they had been carefully chosen, and Izuku was going above and beyond getting Bakugo to listen to them. Keep holding on, cause you know we'll make it through, Just stay strong, cause you know I'm here for you. There's nothing you could say, nothing you could do, they both knew this was true, there's no other way when it comes to the truth. So keep holding on, cause you know we'll make it through. A segment of music played, then changing the tune and mood slightly until Bakugo realized the song had changed completely. He also realized Izuku was the only one singing now. Cause something must have made you say that. What did I do to make you say that to me? Something must have made you so mad. What can I do to make you stay? Come back to me. Suddenly Izuku seemed to grow a bit upset. He forged on nonetheless, but something about the somber expression taking over his freckled face made Bakugo think he was getting to the end of this serenade. Hoping for a moment that I turn around, and you'll be coming after me, cause all that I can say is that it's obvious. It's obvious you're all I see, and I am feeling so small. It was over my head, I know nothing at all. And I will stumble and fall, I'm still learning to love, just starting to crawl. Bakugo jolted, then he realized there were two instrumentals layered on top of one another. While the beat changed into the recognizable song that had been popular a couple years prior, it startled him how well the music from the previous song melded with the piano of this one. Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you. Anywhere I would have followed you. Say something, I'm giving up on you. The brunette walked forward until he was standing less than a foot away. And I will swallow my pride. You're the one that I love, he sang while holding Bakugo's eyes, and I'm saying goodbye. This was it after all. Izuku had no idea what he would do if his crush rejected him after all of this. What else could he really do? He wasn't the sort of person to force his feelings onto another. Sure, he would be absolutely heartbroken over it, however, they would eventually go back to the way things were. Their relationship had taken so much stress throughout the years that even one love admission wouldn't be able to ruin it forever. Say something, I'm giving up on you, and I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you. And anywhere I would have followed you. Oh, say something, I'm giving up on you. Izuku gulped as the song came to a close. Would his plan work? Say something, I'm giving up on you. Say something. When the music died down, there was only silence. Most of Class 1A had their rapt attention on the two boys on the far side of the auditorium, nearly everyone waiting in suspense as Izuku waited patiently for Bakugo to say something. Only Shinsu could school his face to pretend he wasn't holding his breath. Overall, it was nerve-wracking for everyone. Finally, just when Izuku's heart was readying itself for the final blow, Bakugo sighed. You really outdid yourself this time, didn't you, Deku? Not even I would have had the guts to pull something this elaborate off. Hell, you even got our classmates to help. I can't even be mad that you've completely outstaged what I had planned. Everyone in the auditorium save for Tsuyu found their minds reeling. What you had planned? Izuku repeated in confusion. His eyes widened comically as he turned around to see the green-haired girl standing off to the side the entire time under the guise of keeping Manga in check do something to the computer that was hooked up to the sound system. Before Izuku could voice his plethora of questions as to what was going on though, Bakugo gently took the ear mic from him. The feeling of fingers brushing his ear had whatever he was going to say dying in his throat. His skin tingled where the blonde had touched him. A moment later the ear mic was in Bakugo's care. Unlike you, I only picked one song, Bakugo stated nonchalantly. I honestly didn't want to do that much, but after talking to Frog Girl this seemed like the best way to get across what I want to say after I screwed up the other night. You can think of it as a response to that little show you put together too. Izuku could only gape, part of him wondering if he was dreaming. Or dead. Sure, Bakugo could sing, but that didn't mean he liked to. He also never thought the explosive teenager would sing in front of so many people. Also, I'm going to kick your ass for screwing up my original plan. It was only supposed to be the two of us and Frogger over there. Thanks to you, I'll never hear the end of this from these losers, he complained as he gestured to literally everyone else in the room. You heard me, right? If any of you interrupt me, I'll rip you a new one. Once he was done threatening the entirety of the class, another instrumental started up. This time Bakugo jumped in to fill in the lyrics. The entire time he sang, his red-eyed gaze never once strayed from Izuku. The best thing about tonight's that we're not fighting. It couldn't be that we have been this way before. I know you don't think that I am trying. I know you're wearing thin down to the core. Izuku had to keep himself from crying. He knew this song, which meant, but hold your breath, because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you over again. Don't make me change my mind, or I won't live to see another day. I swear it's true, because a guy like you is impossible to find. You're impossible to find. Everyone became vaguely aware of the sound of gross sobbing coming from somewhere in the room, but no one could quite pull their attention away from the scene taking place. This is not what I intended. Bakugo had never been good at handling his emotions, and he really did need to think before he spoke sometimes. I always swore to you I'd never fall apart. Their first 2 fights together came to mind. You always thought that I was stronger. I may have failed, but I have loved you from the start. The blonde reached a hand out, grabbing Izuku's almost shyly as he forged on. But hold your breath, because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you over again. Don't make me change my mind, or I won't live to see another day. I swear it's true, because a guy like you is impossible to find. You're impossible to find. So breathe in so deep. Izuku joined in then. Breathe me and I'm yours to keep. And hold on to your words. They harmonized together flawlessly, cause talk is cheap. And remember me tonight when you're asleep, because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you over again. Don't make me change my mind. I won't live to see another day. I swear it's true, because a guy like you is impossible to find. There was supposed to be another repetition of the chorus, but it was lost when Izuku couldn't contain himself anymore. The brunette cut Bakugo off by throwing himself at him, shamelessly crying his eyes out in relief. Deku, calm your crybaby ass down. It's not that big of a deal. Why, yes it is. Bakugo looked over the wailing boy's head at his classmates, eyes begging for someone to deal with Izuku for him. Instead he got sly grins, nonchalant whistles, a few finger guns, a wink, or was completely ignored in favor for quietly heading towards the exit. A minute later and the 2 boys had the gymnasium to themselves. Deku, Bakugo stated softly once they were alone. Pulling away, Izuku looked at the blonde with a grin brighter than any he'd ever seen before. Bakugo would never admit it out loud, but his nerd smile made him feel things. Fuzzy things. I'm so happy. I hoped you would reconsider, but I never anticipated you'd sing me a song. Kaken, you were so amazing. Bakugo blushed at the praise. Oh, shut up. Of course I'm talented, which is why after some thought I'm going to sing that one part in Singing to the Sky like you wanted. We can't let the other classes hear nothing but perfection during the finale, right? The kiss Bakugo received was all the answer he needed. In order of appearance, I'd do anything by Simple Plan. Love the Way You Lie Part 2 by Rihanna. Best of Me by The Letter Black. Distance by Christina Perri. So Contagious by Acceptance. Always by Blink 182. Your Guardian Angel by The Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Listen to Your Heart by Roxette. My Life Would Suck Without You by Kelly Clarkson. Perfect by P&K. Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne. Keep Holding On by Avril Lavigne. Stay by Safety Suit. Say Something by A Great Big World. Fall for You by Secondhand Serenade. Songs That Almost Made It. My Escape by Raven Scode. My Dearest cover by Amelie. Aizawa was too tired for this. True, he was usually too tired for most things, but this. I honestly expected this from Bakugo, but between the 2 of you I had hoped you, Midoriya, would be the one to keep public displays of affection to a minimum. Izuku rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly at that. Do you care to explain what exactly that was back there? I understand you 2 finally settled your differences and improved your relationship drastically. What I don't understand is why you thought it appropriate to kiss during a training exercise. To be fair, Aizawa-sensei, you did say the purpose of this exercise was for us to use our opponent's weaknesses against them. And in this particular situation my charm actually worked rather well as a distraction so Ajiro-kun could slip past unnoticed. Bakugo shrugged half-heartedly. Deku and Tail Guy did win fair and square. It's Tail Man, Kaken, or just Hajiro, whatever. The elder man sighed. While I appreciate your adaptability to a situation, your charm, as you put it, only works in one extremely specific situation. 2, actually. What? The villain Toga Himiko would probably fall for my charm as well. She has a bit of a crush on me as far as I can tell. Or maybe she just enjoys seeing me when I'm covered in blood. Or maybe, you know what? I don't care. From now on keep that charm skill of yours out of training. End of discussion. Yes, Aizawa-sensei. With that Izuku walked away with a snickering Bakugo, who was trying to hide his snarky grin underneath his gloved hand. You're lucky it was him that chewed me out, you know, Izuku said dryly as they both began to make their way back to the locker rooms to change into their regular clothes. I think All Might wanted to give you the shovel talk then and there, but Aizawa-sensei convinced him that you weren't the instigator this time and that I was the one that needed to be talked to. I think All Might is prepared to give you the shovel talk at any moment though. Bakugo sobered up at that. Even a retired All Might was still a force to be reckoned with. Anyway, he continued while removing his white gloves, can you believe the festival is tomorrow morning? I think I'm getting nervous again. Our last run-through is tonight, and even if it goes as well as last night's practice, I'm scared I'm going to choke in front of all of those people. You know I'm no good in front of a crowd. By yourself you're not, definitely. Izuku gave him a blank look. Wow, thanks for the words of encouragement, Kaken. Let me finish, you damn nerd. I was going to say you're not going to be alone up there, so there's nothing for you to be worrying about. You'll be surrounded by friends and people who support you and all that lovey-dovey shit you always spout. So just calm down already. But I can't, Izuku whined. How do you stay so level-headed in front of hundreds of people? Deku, you're asking the asshole who told an entire stadium he was going to be #1 for advice. Unless you want the audience pissed at you, I'd advise just being yourself. You're going to do fine. We'll blow the rest of the student body away without breaking a sweat. Izuku smiled at his boyfriend appreciatively. I'm glad you have such confidence in me, Kaken. I just really don't want to disappoint anyone. I mean, even our parents are going to be there for the noon and evening performances. Your mom will be amazed no matter what. It's my old hag that'll throttle me if I mess up after all of those stupid drum lessons she had me take. Auntie Mitsuki does have a passionate personality. My mom and your dad should be able to make sure she doesn't go overboard though. That's what you think. You haven't seen her when she's truly pissed off. Izuku couldn't help but laugh. I've dealt with you for years, and as angry as she might be, it can't hold a candle to your temper, I'm sure. Deku, I got my fucking temper from her. I'm the one that doesn't hold a candle to her. The brunette paled at that. Well, she'll probably be in too good a mood about us getting together to get that angry about something, right? It was Bakugo's turn to falter. I haven't told my folks yet. Have you told Auntie and Co? I was going to wait until I saw her in person to tell her, but after some thought I had planned to call her later tonight to tell her. I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do and questions to answer, so a phone call works better if it ends up taking an hour for her to understand. After some of the things she was told throughout the years, she's probably not going to be completely accepting of our relationship. You know how protective she is of me. I can talk to her if you want me to, Deku. I know I messed up, and that I've done nothing to earn her trust, so if she wants to test me or something, I'll gladly let her. It's only fair. There's no need. Izuku quickly dismissed the idea. I'll talk to her tonight, and I'm sure everything will work out fine. What about Auntie Mitsuki and Uncle Murasu? Your parents won't react badly, right? Of course not. The two had more or less changed into their regular clothes at this point. After taking a moment to tug his shirt on over his head, the blonde resumed. It's just, he paused, my parents know how much shit I talked about you growing up. I was angry so often and blamed you for everything remotely bad going on in my life that when I tell them we're together now, I'm worried they're going to think I'm doing this to hurt you, or that I've done a complete 180 when I really haven't. I was such a jackass to you when you never deserved to. Did you listen to anything I said yesterday? Izuku cut him off, a scarred hand grabbing one of Bakugo's gently. The gesture was welcomed openly as Bakugo instinctively gripped the hand tightly. The past is in the past. We've all made mistakes and wish we had done things differently, but sometimes all we can do is learn, grow, and make better decisions in the future. You've already changed for the better so much, Kaken. Don't hold yourself back by remembering things you've already been forgiven for. When the time comes, just tell your parents with confidence. Your intentions will speak the truth, trust me, they will understand. Bakugo let out a small huff of a laugh at that. A second later the blonde was pulling the younger boy to his chest, Izuku having predicted it and moving so his arms circled the other's waist. You're such a sappy little shit, you know that. To be fair, All Might can be exactly the same minus the little part. He's basically my surrogate father, so I can blame that on him. You were like that before you even met him, Deku. The next morning. Today was the day. Does everyone's class shirt fit? Dancers, the bottoms can be whatever you want as long as you're comfortable performing in them. Band and staging teams, we talked about black bottoms of some sort. The equipment is already in place, but we should get over to the gymnasium to warm up before the doors open at 8:45 and the performance begins at 9. There's a cooler with water bottles and a box of snack foods there too, courtesy of Yaoyorozu. Anyone is welcome to them, but if you're singing I advise not having snacks too close to the performance. Does anyone else need anything before we head on over? Gyro received no nods, so with that class 1 made their way out of the dormitory with anything they needed in hand. It was just after 8 o'clock. They should have been half asleep, seeing as most of them hadn't been able to fall asleep until almost 1 in the morning only to get up at 7, but today was the cultural festival. After the time they spent perfecting their routines, the prospect of finally being able to show off the fruits of their labor had them invigorated even at such an early time of day. Today class 1 was going to shine. Feeling nervous, Gyro-kun? The purple-haired girl acknowledged Izuku with a small smile. As they walked side by side, Bakugo not far behind with Kaminari as they discussed a few last-minute tips on how to play their parts, the two main singers assured one another about the performances ahead. A little bit. My parents are going to be out there, so I want to amaze them as much as everyone else. Your mother will be coming later to watch us too, right? Yep. She wanted to catch an earlier train to be here our opening performance, but the Bakugos had already made plans to pick her up and have breakfast before coming here. Kaken's parents and my mom should be here around 11 though. That works out well. You'll have plenty of time to greet them before our noon performance. Just remember we meet back after the opening show at 11:30, okay? After that show is over you'll also have a couple hours to spend with her before we get set up for the closing performance at 4. They chatted a little more until they reached the gymnasium. From there they split up, the dancers, musicians, and staging crew going to their respective places in order to get everything ready. Lighting adjustments were made to take into account the sunlight streaming in through the skylight windows, instruments were tuned, vocal exercises were done, and dancers stretched all the while. After roughly half an hour the students scrambled to get behind stage as the doors to the gymnasium opened. Almost immediately the crowd they heard amassing outside the building became near deafening. "Wow, look how many people are coming in," Uraraka exclaimed. Beside her Ida made a noise of agreement. There were already at least 200 people inside the gymnasium, and the stream of people in the doorway didn't seem like it was getting any smaller. There are indeed a large number of visitors and students coming in. This facility only houses a certain number of people before it exceeds the safe limit though. I hope our professors have taken precautions so that. Relax, Ida-kun. It was just an observation. She turned her attention to Izuku, whose eyes were scanning the crowd. Deku-kun, do you see Mirio and Eri-chan out there? Not yet. It's weird, because I'm pretty sure Mirio's text told me he was at the front of the crowd. He began mumbling under his breath. Uraraka had to stifle a giggle as she noticed 3 familiar forms walking towards him from behind. Aizawa looked unamused as Mirio held a finger to his lips while he and Eri quietly made their way over to sneak up on Izuku. Boo! At Mirio's somehow charismatic boo, Izuku shrieked, spinning around in an instant as his classmates erupted in laughter at his reaction. Even Aizawa's mouth twitched upwards at the sight. Mirio-kun, that was mean. Izuku admonished before turning his attention to the little girl. I can't believe you and Aizawa-sensei were in on that too. Anyway though, how are you feeling this morning, Eri-chan? I've missed you these past few days. He smiled one of his perfect smiles, and Eri-chan released Mirio's hand in favor of running to greet Izuku with a hug. I missed you too, Deku-san. I can't wait to see you all sing and dance. Aizawa said Mirio-kun and I could watch your performance from the front row too. Did he now? Izuku raised an eyebrow at his homeroom teacher at the new title, a few of his friends gossiping among themselves at the development before they received a challenging glare from the teacher. As it was, Izuku was thankful the restricted, priority seating had been set up like he'd asked for. He'd had the idea for the first yard or so in front of the stage to be roped off for precaution anyway. But after learning All Might would be watching the performance alongside his mother, he'd gotten the idea to reserve some seating for everyone's parents should they come. He'd even talked Aizawa into getting permission for Todoroki's mother to visit so long as she was back at the hospital before a predetermined time. Todoroki had been grateful for that. There were extra seats on either side of the center stage for those of older age or difficulty standing for long periods of time as well. Those that were not reserved were open to the public should they need them, the rest of the space being open for people to stand. It created more space for visitors that way. 10 minutes until it's time to rock, people. Mina was suddenly shouting as she looked at the clock on the wall. Remember, if you forget your parts, just move with confidence. Nobody knows what you're supposed to be doing, so as long as you can fake it, you can make it. Remember to have fun too, Hagakure added cheerfully. Yeah, that too. The class broke into cheers, causing Izuku and Eri to join in as well. After a few more words they split up. Mirio headed for the side stairs with Eri just as it was nearing the 5-minute mark. Izuku was about to go stand by his friends once more when someone called his name. Midoriya. Green eyes flashing as he looked up, Izuku noticed Aizawa gesturing for him to come over. When the younger came over, the elder spoke again. Mandalay informed me last night that she would be attending the festival with Kauta later this morning. She wanted me to let you know that he would like to see you at some point if you're not busy, which I'm guessing you won't be, save the performances. Maybe you can introduce him to the other munchkin that you've saved too while you're at it, he added like it was a command more than a suggestion. It would do her good to have a friend her own age. The same goes for Kauta. Izuku nodded animatedly. I think they both love that. Thanks for telling me, Aizawa-sensei. I'll be sure to find Mandalay and Kauta-kun as soon as possible. Good. Now get going, problem child. You've got 3 minutes until that curtain opens. Right. With that, the Greenette went to join his classmates, and Aizawa made his way off of the stage to join his ward. A couple of minutes later the lights dimmed substantially. The crowd fell more or less silent as they brightened back up a little bit, the forms of the students of Class 1 making their way to the stage being revealed. Those in the crowd grew louder once more as the dancers and musicians quickly got into place. They only quieted again when Gyro turned her ear mic on in order to address the crowd. Thank you all for coming. She greeted loud and proud, a welcoming smile on her face. As posted on the schedule for today's events, we'll be having 2 more performances after this one. All 3 of them will last roughly 20 minutes and feature unique songs, instrumentals, and dances composed by our class's very own Izuku, Midoriya, Mina, Shido, and myself. In between performances we'll have original music playing as well as a video composed of pictures and clips from how we put all of this together. Once again, thank you all for coming and enjoy the festival. With that, she signaled the band team for the 4-count countdown. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the gymnasium erupted with music. Gyro began with her guitar part, her eyes closed even as Bakugo, Yaoyorozu, and the other guitarists joined in a few seconds later. It was when the dance team slowly raised themselves up from the ground they were kneeling on into standing positions that she opened her mouth. You're bold and always so courageous, I can never see you quit. Still, I suppose, there are days that you want to give up, but won't admit. She watched the dance team move in sync as she sang. In the middle of the dancers was Mina, those on either side branching off in a V formation similar to that of a flying flock of birds. They started out with simple shuffles and shoulder movements as to work up to the chorus. If challenges are overwhelming, Gyro's eyes flittered to where Kaminari played a few feet to her right, and you feel you might just fall. I want to be there at your side to make you see we have been through it all. Yaoyorozu entered softly then, her voice complimenting Gyro's well. We only have one life, but when we are together we can win. Alone I'm weak, but with you nothing else can stop me. Strength from within. Gyro brought her arm around in a full circle, strumming dramatically as they launched into the chorus. In front of her the dance team burst to life as they split up down the middle to form a straight line with Mina in the center. Shouting out, I'm cheering louder, cause you make me feel this way. She sang passionately as her backup singer sang the lagging parts. Stand your ground and keep pushing on, you're my courage and make me strong. Shouting out, I'm cheering louder, can you hear me scream hooray? She pointed to the crowd for a hot second. When I lose myself in your eyes, I feel brave, I can run and fly. So let that passion grow, show the world your tomorrow. The crowd roared in approval, the dance team having also struck a pose while pointing at the audience. Before the students could get too excited, however, they continued on. Shall we start a brilliant adventure? Can we lose ourselves like this? Gyro strummed tamely as the dance team repeated the same movements as before. Though I suppose, all of the doubts that we left behind will still exist. Although we may not be heroic or earn respect and more, I want to see every goal we're working towards. Honor that we're fighting for. No matter if the others call you nothing more than a crazy fool. Yaoyorozu entered again just as Gyro met eyes with Kaminari. I guess I'm foolish too, but I won't leave your side. She did another over-the-top strum before singing loud into the mic, cause we'll break the rules. This time the dance team split off into 3 groups. One was at the center stage while the other 2 went to either the left or right. Shouting out, I'm cheering louder, we can run 100 miles. It's okay if we stop and wait, just as long as it's only a break. The dancers sidestepped into spins, facing the crowd while bringing their arms up in the air. They surprised everyone by shouting hooray until the next verse came up, clearing their confusion. Shouting out, the cheer grows louder, I can't help but truly smile. Let that miracle deep inside light the world as it comes alive. So take off fast again, excitement ahead. Yaoyorozu sang the backup sounds as she played the keyboard, allowing Gyro to sing the lyrics over her. The endless losing hope tales, sighs of defeat that we exhaled, Gyro whispered into the microphone before the music grew louder once more. As it did so she closed her eyes, her head tilting up as she belted out the last word of, if we could embrace them we'd never fail. The dance team scrambled to get in place for their next movement, the students hooking their arms over one another's shoulders in camaraderie. Mina was the only one not present in the makeshift human wall. It wouldn't be apparent why until a moment later. Though I try I still haven't found my power, but for now it's fine. Overcome every wall and stride, Gyro sang as Mina did a spinning backflip over her friends' heads. The pink-skinned girl let out a shout of excitement as she landed perfectly in front of the audience which went wild at the display. Then we'll laugh on the other side. Shouting out, I'm cheering louder, cause you make me feel this way. The 2 girls sang together. Stand your ground and keep pushing on, you're my courage and make me strong. Shouting out, I'm cheering louder, can you hear me scream hooray? The dancers screamed hooray in time with the crowd, which had been signaled to shout along by the large cue card Ida held as he ran across the stage. When I lose myself in your eyes, I feel brave. I can run and fly. Gazing into your eyes, I can run if I only try, she held. So let that passion grow. Show the world your tomorrow. Izuku grinned from where he stood in a line with the dance team, his hands splaying over his heart along with everyone else he stood by. He hadn't wanted to change the lyrics to this song before a couple days prior. However, after getting together with Bakugo he met with Gyro about updating the chosen opening song of the first performance. Thankfully the changes were rather simple, and Gyro thought it was a good idea for the opening song to be longer than they'd originally planned for it to be. My True Hero was a lot shorter title than the original anyway. After all, you're my true hero. The instrumental played once more before ending with a bang of Bakugo's drums. In an instant the entire gymnasium erupted in applause. The students of Class 1 smiled in relief, many of them calming down as the pressure of their first song went by without a hitch. Even as they prepared to go on to the next one, Izuku in particular couldn't help but feel like he was on cloud 9. From the front row of priority seating, Hiri's eyes were open wide in complete awe. Beside her Mirio was practically shining despite the tears obvious on his face. Izuku understood why though, what with the soul-mending smile Hiri had on her face. He couldn't fight away a few tears of his own either. In between the first and second performance. Kauta-kun, this is Hiri-chan. Hiri-chan, this was the friend I was talking about earlier, Izuku explained. Mirio and Mandalay stood a couple feet away watching the meeting with twin looks of encouragement. Both children had been saved by Izuku one way or another, and both guardians felt like their friendship would help the kids heal more. The two children stared at each other for a moment, Iri peeking out from behind Izuku's leg while Kouta attempted to hide his face with his hat. Anyway, Izuku continued patiently, I was thinking I could bring us to get some caramel apples. It's my treat. That snapped the two children out of it. Iri lit up at the mention of candy apples, while Kouta huffed a dissatisfied noise while crossing his arms. Caramel apples. Those sound gross. Can't we get ice cream instead? Hey, Iri spoke up as she walked out from behind one of her heroes, her form shaking, revealing how scared she was about speaking up for herself in front of this new person. Apples are really good, so candy apples must be even better. Don't call them gross before you've even tried one. The younger boy seemed taken back, his face flushing pink with embarrassment as he tried to retort. Behind them, Mirio and Mandalay were trying to hide their amusement. Well, you can't say they're not gross when you haven't had one before. Iri opened her mouth to argue, but luckily Izuku cut them off with his own laughter. At the sound like tinkling bells, the two kids looked at him sheepishly. When he finally calmed down, he wiped a tear of laughter from his face, green eyes shining with mirth. How about I get you both candy apples to try? That way if either of you don't end up liking them, I can eat them instead. I'll get you two some ice cream afterwards if that happens. Sounds good to me, Kouta grumbled while Iri just nodded. The trio left after that, Izuku having promised to meet Mirio and Mandalay back at the gymnasium before the noon show's practice. In the end, both of the children wound up enjoying their treats. I told you candy apples would be yummy, Iri said matter-of-factly as Kouta finished his off before she was even halfway done with her own. The young boy rolled his eyes. Whatever. How do you know Deku anyway? Iri's hand froze where she had raised the caramel apple to her mouth to take a bite. Alarm bells went off in Izuku's head as she slowly lowered her arm, her face becoming clouded. Iri-chan, he spoke softly while putting a supportive hand on one shoulder, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to. Yeah, Kouta suddenly cut in. It seemed he realized he might have overstepped his bounds. I didn't mean to be nosy. I was just curious, he admitted. Not too long ago Deku saved me from the guy who took my parents away from me, which is how I know him. He's my hero. Izuku's heart warmed at the boy's words, those eyes once filled with hate and disdain now filled with gratitude and confidence. He was just open his mouth to say how much the letter he'd received meant when Iri spoke first. Deku-san and Mirio-san rescued me from a bad man. He also saved me from myself. My quirk, she whispered sadly, is not really something I can control. The bad man who Deku-san saved me from used it to hurt others. Because I was saved though, because Deku-san showed me my quirk could be used for good, I'm hoping one day after I learn how to control it I could use it to help people. I want to be for others what Deku-san is to the both of us. A hero, Kouta filled in, his face free from judgment. All it showed was understanding. Why yeah. The two children stared at each other for a long moment before the sound of sniffles had them turning their heads. When they noticed Izuku attempting to use one arm to cover his face, obviously crying his eyes out, the kids yelped in surprise. Deku-san, why the hell are you crying? Kouta-kun, that's a bad word. Iri admonished offhandedly, her main concern being Izuku. It's not that bad, Kouta argued. Another voice suddenly broke in then, it being filled with a mixture of fond annoyance and amusement. Okay you little brats, which one of you made Deku cry? Heads turned to see Bakugo walking over with his parents and Inko in tow. At their arrival Izuku managed to wipe the rest of his tears away, eyes meeting his boyfriend's with a small grin. Hey, Kaken, neither of them made me cry. They were just talking about some things that made me really happy, so. What you're saying is they both made you cry. How am I not surprised? Well, I cry all the time so I don't think it really matters that. Mitsuki cut him off this time. You are really just like Inko, aren't you little Izuku? Back in high school she could kick ass one moment and then be crying over an injured bird a second later. You really picked yourself a handful of a boyfriend either way, haven't you, Katsuki? Boyfriend. Kouta looked between Izuku and Bakugo like he'd been warped to an alternate reality. With a conceited sneer Bakugo walked up and put his face in front of the younger boys. Deku and I are dating, short stuff. Got a problem with that. Before anyone else could break them apart, water shot out from Kouta's palms only to hit Bakugo square in the face. Everyone save for a cackling Mitsuki and sighing Murasu looked horrified. I don't have a problem with him having a boyfriend, Kouta said haughtily as Bakugo seethed, but I do question why someone like Deku would choose to date an ugly jerk like you. What the hell did you just call me? Bakugo screamed. Small explosions began popping from his palms, so it was all Izuku could do to handle the situation by stepping between the two boys. He raised his scarred arms into the air placatingly. Kaken, please don't hurt Kouta-kun. And, Kouta-kun, please don't call Kaken ugly or a jerk. But he is. Bakugo decided to share his opinion then. Listen here you little shit. This ugly jerk gets to make out with Deku whenever he wants, and before long I'll be the one taking Deku to be. Kaken. Well, it's fucking true. Language, Inko worried while putting her hands over Iri's ears. The little girl just stood there eating the rest of her caramel apple while watching the proceedings in wonder. Izuku hid his now red face in his hands, completely embarrassed. Bakugo noticed this. Feeling a twinge of guilt, the blonde wiped his still dripping wet face off with an arm before gently prying his boyfriend's hands away from his face. I won't touch the brat, okay? I also won't say anything derogatory in front of others again if it makes you uncomfortable. Sorry. The brunette nodded gratefully, taking a step forward so he could rest his head on Bakugo's chest. Bakugo's hand found itself carding through green curls a moment later. The two of them remained like that for several seconds until Inko finally cleared her throat. I don't mean to interrupt, Izuku, but it's 15 after 11. Katsuki was saying on our way to find you that you both needed to be back at the gymnasium by 11:30. We should probably start heading in that direction now. Pulling away, Izuku nodded in agreement. You're right, Mum. We should all get going then. Kaken told you all about the priority seating in the front row, right? Nastuki answered first. He sure did. Marasu, Inko, and I can't wait to see our boys on stage. You're singing the opening song, aren't you, Izuku? Izuku rubbed his neck shyly. I am. He's also dancing, Bakugo added. Personally, I'm pumped for the final show this evening. Our closing song is going to be Fu. Language, Inko reminded. Freaking amazing. It'll make sure the other classes know we're the best. I bet you're only saying that because you sing in that song too, Izuku commented. Correction, I'm saying that because it's a freaking great song and we sing the last few verses together. Oh, Katsuki, I never pegged you as a closet romantic. That's adorable. Auntie, Bakugo groaned at the green-haired woman. Everyone smiled at the embarrassed flush that took over the blonde's face, except for Kauta, who eyed him with a look of distrust and maybe a hint of jealousy. It was quickly swept away with a flush of his own when Eri wordlessly tapped on his shoulder and offered him her hand. Her other hand was being held by Inko. Deku-san's mom said it's safer to hold hands when moving through such a crowded place. She doesn't want us getting separated. Oh, Kauta breathed out, eyes avoiding Eri's innocent ones as he awkwardly placed his hand in hers. She didn't seem to pick up on his shyness though. A couple seconds later they were holding hands without much care, a spiteful Bakugo holding his tongue only because of the look Izuku shot him as they linked their own hands. In order of appearance, Tie cover of Datatashi no Hero by Lisa. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through What If Deku Was Songwriter. I hope you found it as intriguing and thought-provoking as we did. A big shout out to BlueLiv22 for crafting such a compelling story. Don't forget to check out their profile on fanfiction.net for more amazing works. The link is in the description below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Deku Fanfics for more fascinating explorations into the world of fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we're always excited to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. See you guys in the next video.